I got nothing. There's really nothing to remember. Just
What were you gonna remember when you grew up?
see you next year for Nightmare on Elm Street. Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, Tal, and hey, William, you're back. How you doing?
Pumpkin spice is a C-tier coffee flavor at best.
You know, I've never had pumpkin spice. I just have never had it.
I wonder how many people clicked off the video the moment I said that.
Well, they're missing out on our Nightmare on Elm Street discussion here, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, William, welcome back to the show. This time around, we're finally getting to our October spooky month horror Halloween marathon thing I do every
We're
October.
only halfway through the month.
I know, yeah, we finally got to it. Well, listen, we had very important episodes to get to, like Slime People and The Terror.
We had Walter Paisley, who was born.
Exactly. So it was all worth it, but all right.
You also had The Jokester.
Yeah. So
you watched the wrong clown movie for the month.
The wrong movie starring a clown character named Arthur. But hey, I made up for it. A couple days later, I went and saw the correct movie starring an Arthur the Clown.
Yeah. What a funny guy, that Arthur the Clown.
He's very funny. Had me laughing.
All right, so Elm Street.
Yes.
So I guess we can just talk about in general of the series first, because like you've seen the first movie before, but you haven't seen the entirety of it until now.
Right.
So like going in, like what were your expectations?
My expectations were I've heard Freddy is a funny guy, and that these movies are, entertaining. They're a lot of fun. The way you phrased it, I might be misremembering this, but when we got to Freddy vs. Jason last year, you phrased it as if like, oh, you could have been watching those movies, but we were instead watching these movies. And I thought, well,
that was just a joke.
Yeah, it was just a joke. Yeah, exactly. I figured because I still had fun with the Friday movies, but I know I was getting into something a little bit different with the Nightmare films. So
I believe the context for that was like I pointed out. So how did you feel watching that montage in the beginning with no context of it and seeing all the effects?
Yeah. That was something I had in the back of my head. Like, okay, how are these movies going to look visually? And I mean, I'm only 4 movies in, but holy crap, man, these are special effects. These are special effects movies. These are phenomenal.
Yeah, like the appeal of Friday is just how blunt and simple it is.
Yes.
Elm Street's a whole different beast.
Exactly. But I can see why both were so popular.
It's like the way I put it in like my Letterboxd review is that like for 80s slashers and horror in general, you can cut it into 2 periods. There's that era from like 1980 to the end of 84 where everyone was just trying to do like the Friday thing, the Halloween thing with their slashers. They all felt like they all had that kind of tone. Then the end of 84, November, Elm Street came out and everything changed. And it was like the shot in the arm that they needed because at that point the slasher craze was kind of dwindling. But then Freddy came along and like reinvigorated it, kind of like the same way that Scream would a decade later, in a different way.
Yeah.
And now everyone's like, okay, now we got to try to do the Elm Street thing, where the things became more colorful. There was like they had more emphasis on like the soundtrack because like you'd yell out like all the hair metal songs from this point on.
Oh yeah, these movies are unapologetically 80s so far.
It's like, oh yeah, like not to get ahead of ourselves, but like the soundtracks for these movies will jump in between like 80s pop, 80s rock and metal, and 80s rap.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's like because yesterday, just for fun, started working on a Spotify playlist that just goes and collects all the licensed music tracks and original songs from a bunch of different slasher movies. And even without putting it on shuffle, it sounds like the playlist is on shuffle. Because 1 minute you'll just be listening to like Dawkins' Dream Warriors, and then the next one you'll be listening to the Fat Boys. What a time.
I saw REM Losing My Religion in that playlist.
Yeah. And then like it's really funny when you eventually get to like Halloween and you see, wait, now we have like fucking grunge juxtaposed against classic Halloween music.
Yeah.
So, any other like things you want to talk about before we actually get into the movie?
I just really want to talk about these movies because this has been a lot of fun so far. I mean, messy in some regards, but a good kind of messy, I think.
Yeah. So last year when we were going through Friday, I had on standby the Crystal Lake Memories book. I don't have something on standby for me right now, but what I do have is I have the Never Sleep Again documentary that I did watch the segments of the first 4 movies and the TV show on yesterday. I can't actively look at it while we're talking here, but like at least kind of refresh my memory on that. So like have some stuff to pull from like what the cast and crew was saying. Because like in that documentary, it's a 4-hour documentary that goes piece by piece into every movie from up until Freddy vs. Jason, because that was the last one at the time, because the documentary came out in 2010 before the remake.
Right. Okay.
So they don't talk about the remake in that, like how Crystal Lake Memories didn't talk about the remake for the book. Though when Crystal Lake Memories, the documentary came out, they did talk about the remake because everything was done.
Right.
But yeah, so I can kind of get into that. They basically got in almost everybody involved with the series throughout its history to talk about something. Like fucking everyone besides like Johnny Depp and Patricia Arquette came back. They got like fucking Dawkins talked about it. Like apparently the Dream Warriors music video is like the first music video to be included on a VHS. They got John Saxon, they got Wes Craven, they got everybody in there.
That's awesome. That's funny that they didn't get Johnny Depp and Patricia Arquette back specifically.
Oh, Johnny Depp probably would have said no anyway, because at that point,
yeah,
huge. It's like how Kevin Bacon wouldn't come back for the Chris like memory stuff, because like not to sound rude, but like they probably think it's a little beneath them, at least at that point in time. Nowadays, maybe they'd be more willing, because like there probably is some nostalgia there.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, these movies have become so huge at this point, like you can't really avoid them.
It's like it's easy to forget that. Oh, right, the first Elm Street was Johnny Depp's first movie.
Yeah,
because the first Elm Street is just relevant enough on its own that like it doesn't necessarily need that trivia attached to it. But yeah, first Johnny Depp film.
That's crazy. Anyway, I bring that up because then in the movie Ed Wood, there's Johnny Depp and Patricia Arquette who play a couple in the movie. So
okay, I forgot she's in that.
Yeah, she's the second girlfriend because the first one was Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
There's also like a funny bit about Never Sleep Again, how like no, we'll bring this back up again when we get to 4, but like no one actually knows why Patricia Arquette didn't come back for the 4th movie. They were just like, yeah, I don't know why she didn't come back. We never asked. We forget.
We forget.
Why didn't she come back?
We
don't know why she didn't return.
That is bizarre then, if they don't have a reason.
It was like, maybe her Asian ass was too much. Maybe she was just busy. We don't remember.
They instead got an actress named Tuesday Night.
And hopefully by the time we get to 3 and 4, I'll remember how to pronounce her name correctly.
Right.
Or maybe I'll just keep pronouncing it worse as we go on.
That'd be funny.
Patricia Arquette. Oh, yeah, anyway. All right, so the first movie. You've seen this one before. This one was just refreshing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing with these horror franchises these past couple of years. Every single one of them, I had seen the first movie and then never the series. So now doing the podcast, this is my excuse to finally dive into the series. And so, yes, I had seen Nightmare on Elm Street 1 before, and I liked it the first time. I wasn't passionate about myself saying I liked it. I was like, yeah, this is good. I think rewatching it, I definitely appreciate it more because of the strengths that it does well.
So I guess we can start with like how the actual like context of the movie and the making of it.
Mm-hmm.
So Wes Craven. So after like making some like the other earlier films he's did with like Last House on the Left, and I think The Hills Have Eyes already happened by this point.
Yeah, Hills Have Eyes was 77, so this would have
Okay,
been...
yeah. Both of those happened by this point. It was
Well,
like
that just happened.
he had an idea for a movie. There is actually some real life basis for Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
I need to pull up the story for that, but basically there was this thing that happened with like I think it was Cambodian refugees coming to America after something, and basically for whatever reason some just didn't want to go to sleep, and then one night they finally managed to like get one of them to actually go to sleep, and then a couple hours in the middle of the night, all of a sudden he randomly woke up screaming, and before they could get to him, he just dropped dead.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
He just randomly. Like there was like a real life thing about that, and they discovered that he had that all the sleeping pills they gave him he just never took. There was a coffee machine hidden under his bed.
Oh,
like yeah, relevant.
Yeah.
So there was like a real life situation here where like there's like an actual syndrome here that people were baffled about what is happening here.
Yeah, that's freaky.
That inspired. So Wes Craven heard about that story and was like, I wonder what did that. What if there's like someone in his dream that got him or something.
Did they ever find out what actually happened to the dude?
I don't remember. Let me look it up.
Okay. Yeah, because that is freaky.
Sudden unexplained death syndrome, SUDS, occurs when a relatively young, healthy person, usually male and Asian, dies unexpectedly while sleeping. The victim has no known illness and factors. Yeah, it's like I don't know if they ever figured it out.
Okay, yeah, so that really adds to the freakiness of it, like the unexplained death. I think that is pretty scary. So I feel like Wes Craven then being inspired to then make a film about that too, at least explain something. It's like, okay, I can see that. That's actually really interesting.
Heard about it in the LA Times, and then there's also apparently a 70s pop song called Dreamweaver by Gary Wright.
Oh yeah, Dreamweaver.
Which I guess, which also helped inspire it.
Okay.
There was also like he recalled like a thing that happened to him in childhood where one night when he was sleeping, he heard like a commotion outside and he saw this man just walking past down the street, like a trench coat and a hat, who then stopped because he realized he was being watched and looked back. So Craven hid. And then when he thought the man left, he looked back up and the man was still there, and the man like lunged forward a little bit to scare him. So like all those different kinds of experiences. I also think like one of the villains in Last House on the Left was also named like Fred or something, and like
maybe, yeah.
I think and that was part of what led up to Freddy as well.
I honestly don't remember anything about that movie, but
it's like
it's possible.
All these things all came together to help inspire the basic story of it.
Yeah. So
I guess we also have to talk about New Line as well here, because that's a big part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably heard before that like New Line has been described as the house that Freddy built, because originally back then in the 70s and 80s, New Line was just a distribution company.
Right.
They would only distribute other people's movies. There were a few things before this that they like did actually help produce and put money into. But then in those cases, usually someone else would distribute it so they could get their money back without having to like sink so much in. So Bob Shea, who was like one of the big guys at New Line, Wes gave him the script and they're like, this is good. We got something here. So they helped produce the movie. And then once the movie was made, they tried to find a distributor for it so that they wouldn't have to worry about that. Every single major studio turned them down.
Oh my God, of course. Isn't that always the way?
Yeah. Yeah. So then New Line basically had to take the gamble on, we have to do this ourselves.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, if this fails, the company is probably dead, because that's a lot of money now they have to invest in.
Mm-hmm.
So if the movie failed, New Line would have been dead.
Yeah.
So anyway, against a budget of $1.8 million, the movie made $57.1 million.
Of course it fucking did. Jesus.
318 Pro.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that doesn't surprise me that this was a hit because it is different. It is a slasher, which at this point was becoming a tired, tropey horror subgenre. But this is vastly, vastly different than your Michael Myers and your Jason Voorheeses.
The way he goes about it is
Mhm.
so much more fantastical
Yeah.
and different. Because it's like, sure, he could just walk up to you and kill you with the knife hand, and he does do that most of the time anyway.
Hmm.
But it's more about like the setup to that, and even then, not every kill is like that either. In
Yeah.
fact, like in this movie, really only one of them is like that, and even then, it's like you don't see the inside of the dream aspect of it, you see the outside the real world aspect of it, so it's more fantastical.
Yeah, yeah. That's the key word here, fantastical. This is a serial killer who's not just a guy. At one point he was just a guy, but now he is somebody who can basically just kill you at your most vulnerable, and
Yeah.
that's terrifying.
Yeah, because like you have to go to sleep eventually.
Yeah, you literally can't. I know
Freddy
at some
is
point in the movie, Nancy says something like, I looked it up, the Guinness World Record is 11 days. And even then, I'm like, that sounds even far too long for any average human to not be able to fall
yeah.
asleep.
It's like Freddy is inevitable. At some point, you're going to fall asleep, whether
Right.
you like it or not, because you literally have to.
Yeah, exactly. So on
And with
paper,
that, he's also just in your mind. So like they do this more in the later movies, like he can play with your psychology. He knows what your desires and fears are. So like later on in the series, he'll use that against you.
yeah. So in concept, this is one of the most terrifying stories you can do in a horror film.
Yeah.
In
He will
execution,
fuck with you.
yeah, but in execution, that's where I'm like, I'm not very scared by this film. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because I'm not scared by a lot of films, especially in the horror genre. But I can still find things to appreciate. And I do appreciate this film very much so because of, like I said, because of its strengths. And one of its biggest strengths is Freddy, the actual character himself.
Yeah. And like I guess do we want to talk about Freddy as a character first moving forward?
I think so because we should definitely establish what he's like in this movie because I would argue he's he's a little bit different in the coming films because
Really the big change isn't Free.
they really start to focus on him as kind of a comedic character in the later films, which is completely fine because he does that well. But
the most comedic is part 6.
Okay,
which you haven't gotten to that one yet.
We'll get there when we'll get there. But at least in this movie, I still find it a little weird because this is such a scary concept and the actors, like the actual actors like Nancy, like Johnny Depp, are taking it very seriously. And then you have Freddy Krueger, who is kind of a goofball, but not to the extent that we see him later on. I think they do play their cards right with him in this movie. But it is still kind of a weird tonal thing where it's this really kind of goofy slasher in this really scary concept.
I think also part of that is also the retrospect of it's been 40 years.
Yes.
Like I imagine like the imagery of like Freddy cutting off his own fingers and like revealing the maggots in his chest probably hit a little differently in the 80s.
Oh yeah, I'm sure people were terrified of that. Whereas now I look at that and I think he cut off his fingers.
It's also like we look at his face and it's like he's like, "Hey Tina, look at this," and he cuts his fingers off and it's like it's a magic trick.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
That's funny.
He is actively fucking with them.
Yeah, exactly. Actively fucking with them. Exactly. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and like another thing that also sets apart Freddy from the others is that like Jason, Michael, like not even just to talk about, like they're all completely silent. You don't know what their game is, and like a lot of them have like the revenge mode, which Freddy does have the revenge motive too. But like Jason is a kind of a victim. Michael was kind of misunderstood as a child. Leatherface has an abusive father in fucked up Texas. You look at Freddy. Well, he was already a serial killer before all of this.
Yeah, he was
already evil.
He was already just the worst type of person before he became this monster. Like, yeah, exactly.
So that just sets him apart there. It's like, yeah, he was already a fucking monster, so now he just comes back even stronger. That was probably pretty scary too back then.
Oh yeah, no, that
Yeah.
does add to the scariness of this film.
Nowadays, it also because like we have the context of the later movies, so we know what Freddy eventually becomes. So it's kind of hard to separate that from it.
Yeah, but then there is also the aspect of all the parents killed him because the fact that he was a child murderer and they're just like, yeah, he killed 20 children. It's like, okay, that's excessive to a point that it's kind of comical. And yeah, again, at the time that was terrifying. Whereas here, yeah, retrospect, like you said, come on, dude.
Like, who did it? Oh, they finally found who did it. They got him. What do you mean they didn't follow the warrant correctly?
Yeah.
Which is like the annoying bureaucracy that's like, damn, now we have to let him go, even though we know for a fact he fucking did it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, all right, fine, then we'll kill him ourselves. I'm gonna come back. No, you won't. Oh, yes, I will. 20 years later, I came back. It can feel a little ridiculous, like as the movie goes on, about the parents just not believing anything, but also like in the context of that, why would they believe anything?
I mean, I think that has to do with the pacing of the film because that aspect does
Right.
get a little repetitive. And I'm willing to forgive it if that kind of repetitiveness was only in the first movie. So I guess that's more of a critique of the later films, but we'll get to that.
I think it's more of an issue in like part 2 and 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think part 3 gets away with it because Nancy returns there, so like you have her there to help steer things along.
Yeah, and part 3, I feel like there's a little more. There's a little more reinforcing the doctors and the people who don't believe them because they are in a mental asylum. So
Yeah.
I'm willing to forgive it there. But yeah, at least with 1, I'm willing to forgive the repetitiveness of them being like, hey, there's this guy trying to kill me in my dreams and nobody believes them. But I think if they tighten it up just a little bit more,
Yeah.
I feel like they could have done something a little tighter with that. Just because, yeah, there really is only so much you can do with scenes of characters being like, you have to believe me, and the adults don't. And then Freddy kills somebody, and then it's like, oh, well, now we believe you. It's like, I don't know. They need to speed up the process. They need to just get to what we came here for. And the fact that they just keep going back to the same exact scenes over and over again, it gets very tedious.
I think what might be a problem there is that there's only 3 kills in the movie.
There you go.
That's like there's too many of those scenes for how much death actually happens. Because yeah, for this movie only actually has 3 deaths.
Yeah,
I guess 4 with the mother towards the end, but that's kind of vague.
Yes, yeah, that's
so it's like
more vague.
You only actually have like 3 actual kill scenes. So like if there was just 1 more, I think that would have paced them a little better. Because like I will agree that I think the movie is a little slow in retrospect.
Mhm.
I don't think it's as big of a problem, but I will acknowledge that because like I will say like obviously my favorite is the 3rd one, which popular opinion, but
Yeah. Well, because I agree that it is a lot slower, but I think that is because it is this is the movie that
the first one.
It is the first one, so it's taking itself a little seriously.
Yeah.
Whereas the later films definitely embrace a more goofy and comedic tone. Whereas this one is the one where they're just like they're trying to be a legit horror film.
Yeah. And you can see that where if like you have like all the darkness, like the more
Oh yeah.
Like all the scenes of like light shining for like the wooden planks and the mist.
Oh,
the tone is all there.
The shadows are phenomenal. It's something out of a noir film at times. It's great.
Yeah. Like I will give them credit. There also like there's the scene where like you see Nancy at like that the hospital getting like the dream test, and like you don't actually see what her nightmare is this time. You just see it from like the parent and the doctor's perspective. And it's like, what the fuck is happening? And now like we have no clue what is going on here. So something is off. At which point that's when the mom kind of starts to like understand, although she still like was against it because like, well, he's fucking dead. What do you mean he's in your dream? He's fucking dead. But like then we get like the backstory of like, oh, she's the reason why Freddy exists. We see the boiler in the glove.
Yeah. The other thing too is that you could argue the reason she doesn't believe her is that she doesn't want to believe her. And I guess that's kind of implied with the rampant alcoholism of the mother, because she feels, okay, we already killed this guy. I refuse to believe that he's back because we already carried out justice. And she doesn't want to admit that justice wasn't carried out because that would be a horrible thing to admit, you know?
Sweetie, have a good night. Also, we just torched a guy next door.
Yeah.
Which is also just a line from the second movie, I think.
It literally is just a line from the second or third. I don't remember which one, but yeah, that is literally a line. But so like I'm willing to see it from that angle. It's just I don't think the movie does a particularly good job at showing that. I don't think it does a particularly bad job. It just isn't quite
does it
there.
Too much.
Yeah, exactly. It's not quite there.
It happens too much that like they probably could have shaved like 5 minutes off the runtime, and it probably would have come across a little better.
Right. Exactly.
I can forgive it because like I know it comes later and like it doesn't bother me as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think this is a solid horror film, is the thing. Like, I completely understand why this was such a big hit at the time and why it's seen as one of the most iconic horror films ever made.
How do you feel about the effects?
Oh my god, easily the highlight of the film. I feel like there are better effects in the later films, but this one has some really, really good stuff.
Yeah, like what was your favorite? Of the three big ones.
Of the three big ones. Give me which ones are the three big ones you're referring to.
I'm talking about specifically the three deaths, so Tina, Rod, and Glenn.
Okay. Well, Glenn might be my favorite then, because you have
popular pick.
Yeah, it is the popular pick, but just because I'm like looking at it being like, how did they do that? How did they cause a blood volcano out of his bed? And I'm just trying to think of, maybe they like flipped the room upside down and they just they just flipped the camera upside down so then they can like have it looking at a certain angle. Like I was thinking about that. Like that's how you know it's a good special effect, when I'm thinking about how did they do that.
You're on the right track too, if you want to know.
Yeah, please.
So both Tina's death and Glenn's death were you done doing a similar thing where the set for the room was actually on a rig that would be able to flip the room upside down.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So like for Tina, like she is actually technically on the floor the entire time. They are rotating the room as she's being dragged along.
Yeah, that makes sense. That I was thinking that's how they did that one too. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas with Glenn's death, flip the room upside down with the camera to make sure that it looks good, and then you just dump all the blood.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it works so well. They still look really convincing to this day, even though it's 40 years later. I'll even shout out Rod's death. I thought that was really cool because the concept of the bed sheets like tying around him, like you don't see Freddy at all, and just hang him up, like that's great. Yeah, it's simple, but it's effective.
It's also like in the context of the plot, it's making it look like he killed himself, which like adds to it. Because it's like now it looks like he is incriminating himself as if like, he killed himself because he did it. Because at that point they think he's the one that killed Tina. Yeah,
it's very smart. Exactly. It seems like Freddy is like this very conniving, scheming character up until Glenn's death, where he's just like, blood volcano, 'cause funny.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it's also like when you see like Tina's death and Glenn's death from like the real world perspective, it's like, how the hell do you explain that? What the hell happened?
Oh, well.
Hi, my son exploded. Maybe that's why Johnny Depp doesn't want to talk about the movie, because he turns into a blood volcano.
Yeah.
It's like you go to Johnny Depp at a convention. It's like, oh, what's your favorite movie of mine? Elm Street. I love when you turn into a blood volcano. And then he kicks you out.
Get out of here.
I loved watching you die, Mr. Depp.
Please go away.
It's so fun watching this movie and seeing that credit. Introducing Johnny Depp.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this Johnny Depp guy. I've never heard of him.
And he's just sitting there on his bed in his funny little crop top watching black and white movies on TV, and they get sucked in.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great effect too, just being sucked into the bed. Like, oh, it's great.
and launched.
Yeah. And even when the special effects are a little on the weird side, like when they're in that alleyway and Freddy accordion arms, yeah. I still like those because they're cute, they're funny, but they are pretty obvious.
It aged a little, but like it's still fun.
Yeah,
and that's just basic marionette too.
Yeah.
Like the arms are just on strings.
Yeah, I'm fine with aged effects like that if they have some charm to them. I still like it.
How'd you feel about Heather Langenkamp and John Saxon?
So, Nancy, honestly, I'm more of a fan of Nancy in the third one, but we can get to that later.
Yeah.
I still felt the stress of not being able to fall asleep from Nancy. I thought she really conveyed that really well for what she was given in this film. Again, I think it got a little repetitive after a while, but there is still a solid performance from her. John Saxon rules. He was super cool. I wish he played a bigger part though. I don't know, that's weird to say, even though he does play a big part in the movie. I feel like he could have been a little bit more implemented.
He's not in it as much as I thought he was.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I thought the mother was more absent than she actually was.
Yeah.
The one thing that the Elm Street films in general, I guess, actually, before I go to that, I guess we do need to talk about Robert Englund.
Yeah.
Robert Englund, what a guy. Apparently at first I think it was like they wanted let me double check here. Yeah, originally David Warner was originally cast to play Freddy.
David Warner, really?
Yeah, he was originally cast to play Freddy, but he had to drop out last minute due to scheduling conflicts.
I can't see that. I love David Warner. I think he's a great actor, but I cannot for the life of me see that working.
So they just talked to other guys, and then one day this Robert Englund guy, looking kind of nerdy, just strolls on up and like, hey, I was told that they wanted me to play this guy named Freddy. Like, this is what they got. All right, we'll try it. And then fucking worked.
Boom, history made.
Apparently, Kane Hodder was also at one point in talks, which is very funny.
Yeah, also no.
Yeah, also no. Love Kane, but he is just... I don't think he would have been able to do, like, the talking stuff with Freddy.
No, exactly.
And I think he's too big.
Yeah, again, exactly. Freddy's not a big hulking guy. Like, that's what Michael and Jason are. They're these big hulking dudes that move slowly but still catch up to you. Whereas Freddy is a quick, kind of smaller guy, but he makes up for it by being this fantastical character who can just do whatever he wants.
Yeah, like originally they did want like a bigger hulking guy to play Freddy, but then like after like looking at like real abusers in real life, they realized, oh no, these guys aren't like huge monsters; they're like fucking weasels and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So they put that into it.
You can still make that terrifying. Exactly.
Yeah, and Freddy, I think, manages for that at least for the most part here.
Exactly.
And even later in some of the others, because like conceptually, some of the stuff he does in later is still scary.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it does get more fantastical, which I still like the fantastical stuff too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what we came to see.
Like, Robert Englund based his performance of Freddy off of things like Klaus Kinski's Nosferatu and stuff like, he said this in the documentary, not listing it here, but like, Cagney.
Okay.
Like a combination of Cagney and Nosferatu, basically.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to visualize that. I guess I can kind of see that.
Yeah. Robert Englund came up because, like, at that point, he got some minor success off of the V miniseries that ran for the early 80s. And then, like, he went in to do Freddy, and then that's what he became known for. It stuck.
Yeah.
The design for Freddy was a combination of two things. It was based on real burn victims.
Yeah.
So, like, they did, like, look at actual, like, burn makeup and stuff. But at one point, the guy who was doing the makeup for it originally, before he settled on it, he actually, like, you're gonna laugh because it's exactly what you would make a joke about, and then you find out, no, that is real. He was at a pizza place.
Rick, you little meatball.
He was looking at his pizza and, like, started messing with the pepperoni and stuff. And eventually he just made Freddy's face on the pizza.
Incredible.
The joke everyone would make about Freddy's face is also just how they made Freddy's face. Hey, it's the pizza. I like the soul food. Anything else you want to talk about with Freddy?
I think we covered it for now, just for the first movie.
Yeah. Because we'll keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
Before I get to like the end of the movie, is there anything else you want to talk about with the movie?
Basically my favorite my favorite non-kill scene in the whole movie is when Nancy's mom is cleaning her room of all the coffee mugs and the coffee pot, and then she closes the door. She pulls out the second coffee maker. It's so funny.
And she actually knows how to make coffee, unlike Alice in Friday the 13th.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's why this is better than the first Friday the 13th. Exactly.
I think this is better than most of the early Friday the 13th.
Well, no, yeah. Yeah.
Love Friday the 13th. I will also admit that, no, the movies aren't very good for the most part.
No, exactly.
But they're fun.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, very
fun. But they're fun.
Of course. But yes, this is a much tighter film. Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing that the Elm Street movies, though, do struggle with a lot are the endings of the movies.
Yeah, okay.
Because, like even in making of it, it's like they kind of had, like, several different ideas for how to actually end the movie. And they ended up just kind of mashing all of them together. Because, like, Nancy defeats Freddy by basically taking away the fear. Like, I am not afraid of you. You cannot hurt me. I take back all the power I ever gave you. And that beats Freddy. And thematically, that works.
Mm-hmm.
In execution, it's not a huge payoff.
No,
so
it's
then
really
they're
not.
like, all right, now how do we actually end the movie? And it's like, or is she still in a nightmare? Is she actually awake? Her friends are back. Is that because it's a dream? Did any of this actually happen? Was it like a premonition of what's to come? Is her mom actually alive or dead? So they kind of mashed everything together where like the car is now Freddy and Freddy pulls the mom in and jump rope girls.
The end.
Credits. And then you have that song called Nightmare that is not streaming anywhere. And I think apparently that was Johnny Depp's band at the time.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, like apparently like because before he was an actor, Johnny Depp was in a band.
Yeah.
You know, the way Johnny Depp got the role was that like they wanted that to be like a more traditional big jock character. But then, like, I think it was like the casting, like either Wes Craven's daughter or someone else, basically like, no, you got to hire Johnny Depp for this. Why? He looks like he's like, that. Why? Was one of the big jock characters. Why Johnny Depp? This Johnny Depp fellow? Because he's cute.
I mean, look,
damn, the first person to say that in the world, and they look what happened.
I mean, look where we are today.
Even back then, you know, Nancy was the first teenage girl to have a picture of Johnny Depp on her wall. She would not be the last. Like fucking damn, that daughter hit the nail on the head apparently.
Yeah. What a prediction. Yeah, so the ending I can see working conceptually because taking away the fear of Freddy defeating is what defeats him. Sure.
I call you cringe, now die.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that working, especially when you're dealing with nightmares as a concept in this movie. However, I don't think it really earns that because that's not really it feels very sudden, the whole you have no power over me. That's exactly what happens in fucking Labyrinth, you know, how that's like it feels very last minute where the main character's like, you have no power over me. And that somehow defeats him. It's even a little more kind of embarrassing here. I feel like it could work in this concept. I say it's embarrassing because, you know, the previous 5 minutes was just Freddy tripping over himself in her Home Alone booby traps.
When the movie inexplicably becomes a Home Alone prequel.
Exactly, yeah. Again,
which I think also works in that way because like you get like the cool effects of like the flaming footprints that like in the real life, like what the hell is going on here?
No, absolutely. The whole making Freddy this bumbling klutz at the end should work because then that leads into her being like, you're just a loser. You have no power over me. But again, in execution, it's a little awkward.
Because I think it's more awkward, just a matter of the dialogue isn't fully there, but also because of what happens immediately afterwards, where it's like, oh, it didn't mean anything.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then of course it is the worst effect when you see Freddy kind of just disappear. It's worse than the accordion arms, because the accordion arms are funny, whereas here he just kind of dissolves away. It's just kind of awkward.
I can forgive it though, because this was the 80s and
Sure.
optical effects in general in the 80s kind of suck. Like even
Absolutely.
Indiana Jones has bad optical effects.
Absolutely. Yes. I can agree
So
to
like
that.
I can't hold it against the movie, because I would have to hold it against every movie from the 80s.
Which you don't want to do.
Yeah. They all fucking look like that.
Exactly. And then to go off on to talk about the actual ending, where so they're in outside, it's daytime, and that's when you're wondering, oh, is this a dream? Is this still going? Again, in concept, I would like that. As like, here's the thing. If this was the only Nightmare on Elm Street in existence, that is a good ending.
The problem is that some of the other movies also just do this, though. Like the exact next movie does the same thing.
Right. And because it's a franchise now, that ending is a little on the confusing side.
Because like the way that came about is that like Wes Craven wanted it to be a standalone movie, but Bob Shea kind of pushed a little for, hey, just in case, I would like to have like the rights to a movie that I could potentially make sequels of.
Yeah.
So he kind of pushed it in that direction.
Yeah.
Because we did mention about how much money the movie made. Technically, Bob Shea didn't really get any of that money. He just had the copyright for something that he knew could be profitable.
Right.
Like all that money went to like the higher ups at New Line and stuff.
I mean, he was still correct, but
yeah,
no. And again, I still feel as though, I don't know, maybe if it was a little clearer, that ending, but I don't know. I feel like because it's so vague, the point of it being so vague would make it a better ending for a standalone film. If it was a lot clearer, then it would be a better ending for the Nightmare on Elm Street that would then lead into the franchise, you know?
Yeah. And they're very open about this. Like in the documentary is not shy about any of the problems of the movies. Like they're fully able to admit the problems.
Yeah. And you know what? That's commendable. I appreciate that.
Because the ending is just kind of slapped together, and like the fact of the matter is that everything else before this was good enough that like it's not a deal breaker.
No, of course, because it's still a solid enough film. It's a little messy at points, but it's still, I would say this is the one that is the most consistent, you know?
$1.8 million budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And sure, nowadays that with inflation it'd be a lot more, but also, you know, that doesn't really matter as much here in that situation.
No, definitely not.
Now, granted, Terrifier 2 had a $250,000 budget, but you know,
and it looks like that.
Okay, I guess I can also go into like another topic that I want to bring up at some point in here about like practical versus CG. Because something I was thinking about, and like this will be more relevant when we get to the remake, but like with CGI, at some point I feel like in general CG just kind of stopped being impressive, I think, to most people.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, like, when was the last time you were impressed by CGI in a movie?
I'm sure there was a time.
Yeah, like, I think, like, for most audiences, like, the last two movies that I heard people were generally impressed with CG effects, and there's a big gap in between these two. The most recent, I think, was, like, War for the Planet of the Apes in 2017. So 7 years ago now, and before that, it was like fucking Avatar.
Yeah, but even still, I rewatched Avatar within the last couple of years, and the CGI is so obviously CGI that I'm just like, it's not that impressive anymore. Yeah, because that's
like,
the thing.
When was that? And I was while I was forgetting, I was thinking like, why is CGI not impressive anymore versus the practical effects? And the conclusion I came to is that like, because CG in general nowadays always looks good. It's like it's kind of goes without saying that the effects are going to be good. And the thing I came to is like the reason the practical is more impressive than CG for a lot of times is because with CGI, how good it looks is a matter of how much money did you spend and how much time did you have. Because the more money and more time you have, of course it's going to look good because you pumped so much money into it and you had all day. Whereas with practical, it is purely based on how good the person doing it is.
So then there's a lot more personality in those practical effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like to go into like modern like Terrifier movies, say what you will about the movies themselves, but like the effects, holy hell.
Yeah. And here's the thing, the effects still look obvious. Like the blood and guts look very fake, but there is a personality. There is a personality to them, absolutely.
And like it just looks it's fun. It looks good.
Yeah.
I'm not for it. Like when I see like those animatronics of like the corpse, like Allie, the animatronic for Allie at the end of that scene when she's like just gushing blood and like is practically a skeleton. It looks fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's like these effects are great and considering that there was only like 250,000 or 2.5 million, it's like goddamn. That's like it's so much more impressive because there's actually like limitation restrictions they had to deal with. Whereas with CG, well, yeah, you can do literally anything, and you put like $1 billion into it, it's gonna look good. I'm not impressed because we expect that from that.
Yeah, and then when it doesn't look good, it's now even more pathetic.
Yeah. Whereas with the practical, it's like, holy shit, that animatronic is awesome. Like you built a giant 40-foot gorilla. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay, where do we go from here?
Well, Nightmare 1, good movie.
Good movie. So yeah, movie made money. New Line didn't die. And then it's like, well, I guess we can make a sequel.
Might as well.
Wes was kind of against doing a sequel at this point, so he did not come back.
I can see that.
And as you can kind of tell, they didn't really know how to make a sequel to Elm Street at this point.
No.
Because this movie just kind of does its own thing. So I guess, like, for me, this is my second time watching it after, like, many years. Because, like, I think the first time I watched this was probably back in, like, 2015, 2016.
Oof, that was a long time ago.
And I did not like it. Here, I think it's better than I thought it was. Still don't particularly love it, but it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's just kind of weird and confusing. To be fair, a lot of that is with the context of the rest of the series. It doesn't fit.
Oh, yeah.
To give it credit on its own accord, there was no rest of the series yet.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, my experience with the second one, I've only seen it once. I liked it. Kind of. As
I think that's an important disclaimer.
Yeah, no. When I say I liked it, I don't think it's particularly good, but I had a blast with it because of the things that I did like from it, because it is very funny. This movie. There were several times I was guffawing at how there's very few words to describe it. It is an interesting specimen, I would say that. It is interesting. But overall,
I think a specimen is a good word for this movie.
It is very much a specimen. I was thinking, because there were times where I was laughing and having more fun with it than I was the first one. But as it started to go on more, then I realized, oh yeah, no, I can see why this is considered such a black sheep, and then why the first one is a far tighter film.
That third act,
yes, that's where I was like, okay, I'll put my hands up. This is when it's starting to really falter. And not even because it's the worst thing ever, it's just boring and tired, and it feels like the movie's just like, I really don't know what else to give you. You know,
they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very pathetic whimper.
For example, in terms of not knowing what they're doing, they almost didn't get Robert Englund back. Like there was actually like they weren't sure if they were actually gonna rehire Englund, because apparently his agent kind of got wise and were like, hey, we know how well that first movie did. I think we can get a little more money for this one. That was what his agent was pushing for. They actually started to film the movie with an extra. And apparently the extra was fucking awful. It was basically like moving around like Frankenstein. At which point, everyone just kind of looked at the cast member and the director and said, "You're a fucking idiot if you don't get Robert back."
Yeah, exactly. Because Robert is Freddy Krueger.
I mean, at that point, it was only one movie, so you can kind of see the notion, but it's like, no, this guy needs to be Freddy again. Get him back right now.
And so then when you actually see Robert in this movie, yeah, he is Freddy Krueger.
Got special work here.
Now, even though he doesn't act that much like Freddy, I mean, he does, like when he's actually killing people, that is very much Freddy. But then, yeah, the whole movie is just Freddy possesses a guy who moved into Nancy's old house because I guess he can do that now. It's like, huh.
I think conceptually, it's an interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem is that this shouldn't have been the second movie.
Yeah.
If this was like the fifth movie or something, I could see it being integrated better.
Like as if Freddy is like kind of exhausted his options, where he's like, okay, let me try possessing one of the kids. Yes, I can see that.
And to be fair, I did just mention fifth movie. That is kind of a thing that happens in the fifth movie. Kind of.
Uh-huh.
Vaguely.
Sure, okay.
You'll understand what I'm talking when you watch it, but like it's not as with what it is. It's not like what you're probably thinking of.
Right. I'll see it when I see it.
In like 3 days.
Exactly.
Now, granted, by the time this episode goes up, you'll probably have already watched the movie.
Exactly. Yeah. By the time people are hearing this, I've already seen the fifth one.
Yeah, but yeah. I think the idea of Freddy needing to use someone else to come back is a solid enough idea. And they kind of use that in other things like Freddy versus Jason. The whole beginning of the conflict is no one remembers him, or therefore they're not afraid of him.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't come back. So he goes to hell, finds Jason, pulls him back and says, "Jason, kill in my name."
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's like a consistent theme. Like even then it's like in the first movie, the way that like Nancy takes the fear away from him, that's how he's defeated. So Freddy's power being related to the fear makes sense, and him needing that to come back. Yeah, you can see that. Like, yeah. So yeah, he would need someone to help bring him back.
Yeah, there is a solid enough foundation here.
It's just, it was a little early in the series now, so it's like, how do we actually do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just not very tightly done.
No,
I do appreciate the nods to continuity, that like it's now the next people that live in that house, and like using Nancy's old diary to find out what's going on. Mm-hmm. I think that makes sense. Like I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a lot of things where things just aren't happening in this film.
Very much so.
There are only 2 actual deaths in this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And then there's just like the kerfuffle at the pool party after that.
Yeah.
And like, not for nothing, they're cool death scenes in and of themselves. It's just, it takes like halfway through the movie for the first one.
Oh yeah.
And the second one doesn't happen to like the beginning of the third act.
Yeah, and then the pool party is the third act. And then the boiler room, or the boiler factory thing, is like
where he's defeated by the power of no homo.
Yeah, I guess, and that's like the fourth act. And it's like, can we speed this up, please? Yeah.
We could have cut that third act in half.
Oh my god, yeah, you could have ended it at the pool party.
Yeah, they didn't need to go back. It's also like the whole boiler room thing. Like I think later it does just get retconned to being his fucking garage.
Mm-hmm.
I get where they're coming from with that building, but like later on, it's like, no, it's just just make it his garage. That makes more sense.
Well, that's the thing, is that the second movie isn't technically canon. Am I understanding that?
It's just that none of the other movies really call back to it.
Right.
So it's like, it probably still technically happened. It's just that it doesn't matter that it happened.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because they're kind of vague on how long it's been between I think it was like 5 years between 1 and 2.
Yes.
And then like we don't know how long it's been since 2 and 3 and also 1 and 3.
Right. Well, 1
We
and
don't
3
actually know how long it's been.
I feel like they say it's 1 and 3 is 5 years. But then I also think they say in 2 that Nancy's dead. But it's
I don't think no, they didn't say Nancy's dead from my memory. They just said she went crazy and they moved away.
Okay, yeah, maybe that was it. I feel like I remember her saying that she was dead in 2, but yeah, I might have made that up.
Maybe I don't remember. There's a lot of nothing happening in part 2. So
yeah. But what does actually happen, I will defend as being kind of fun. Like, I think this main character is a goofball. He is. Because it starts off so strong with him. That first scene where it's a dream sequence and then they end up in the desert, the famous deserts of Ohio.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's something we forgot to bring up, that canonically Springwood is in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
You would not know this from watching the movies because there are fucking palm trees everywhere.
Yeah. See, the palm trees and the mountains in something like Halloween, you have to actually pay attention to find them, and so
it's
then,
like the most egregious thing in Halloween is the lockers.
Yeah, the lockers, exactly. If you notice the outside lockers in Halloween, you won't unsee them, but that's if you're looking for them, like I am.
Yeah.
Whereas with Nightmare on Elm Street,
everyone's driving a convertible. There's that scene where Nancy and Glenn are eating burgers on the bridge, and there's that massive palm tree next to them.
The palm tree.
There are palm trees at the graveyard. They're everywhere. They make no attempt to hide it.
The palm tree next to the bridge is the thing that like when you're looking at that scene, that is the thing you're looking at the most. That like it is so blatant. It is so funny.
Like, to be fair, I don't know if they ever name drop Ohio in the movies. I just know like canonically it is Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
The closest really get, I think, is like the map in Freddy versus Jason, where it's like the line from like Springwood, Ohio to Crystal Lake, New Jersey. Which we now have to suspend our disbelief that they drove all the way across Pennsylvania in one night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember we talked about that in the episode. Yeah.
They drove from Ohio to New Jersey in one night. Pennsylvania is a very long state.
Yeah, there is nothing in between, but there's a lot of nothing in between.
I think it's like 5 hours between Philly and Pittsburgh.
I think we did do the math where we were just like trying to figure it out, and it was almost possible, but it would be under very specific.
It would be literally all night.
Yeah, it would be very specific.
It would be morning by the time you get to New Jersey.
Exactly.
Because I told you that 5 hours from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, there's still like an hour in between both of those that you have to tack on, so that is like already 7 hours of driving.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot.
And like I think canonically, like it'd be like North Jersey that Crystal Lake is in.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that's where like Nobi Bosco was.
Right. And remember, North Jersey. Yeah, because that would be closer to New York. Because remember, they're going to Manhattan on Friday, so yeah, it would have to be closer to New York.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, fucking palm trees everywhere, and like this is just like a constant theme throughout the movies. It's like it's just always there.
Yeah, exactly. It's comical. It's comical.
It's like I'm like watching the beginning of the first one, like, oh, it's not that bad, and then I get to the first funeral scene, oh, and then every scene after that, oh, you get to the bridge scene, Jesus Christ,
you're not even trying anymore.
Why did you even bother setting this in Ohio?
Yeah, just say it's in California. Who cares?
I think they finally figured that out for Scream, because that does just take place in California.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It only took
well, technically, New Nightmare does take place in LA.
Sure.
But that's because it's literally technically real life, so.
Exactly. But yeah, anyway, so the beginning of Elm Street 2, where they go to the deserts of Ohio. And anyway, then Jesse wakes up from his nightmare and just starts screaming. And his little sister downstairs is like, why can't Jesse wake up like a normal person? And that...
We talk about that just to be clear, though, like, let's talk about the actual bus scene, though, because it is admittedly a cool sequence.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like the bus, like, in the fucking, on the desert pillar in the canyon.
Mm-hmm.
that's a cool image with like, and if you notice at the beginning, the bus driver actually is played by Robert Englund.
I noticed that. I remember looking at him when he opens the door, and I'm like, that looks suspiciously like him. Yes.
And then of course, so he turns into Freddy. It's a cool sequence. And then he wakes up and screams and becomes the first male scream queen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And his sister is eating Fu Manchus. Which is like,
that was
why
so
Fu
funny.
Manchu?
It is so funny.
I feel like even by the 80s, Fu Manchu is a fucking pull.
Oh yeah, no, that it was completely not okay, but that's what makes it even funnier.
Like I feel even not even just the yellow face stuff, but it's like, would anyone remember Fu Manchu in the 80s?
No, exactly. What even is Fu Manchu? Exactly.
Boris Karloff in Yellowface being a detective or something.
Oh, I thought it was Christopher Lee.
No, I'm pretty sure it was back in like the 30s and 40s with Fu Manchu.
No, you're probably right though. I mean, yeah, regardless, white guy in yellow face, that's what it is. And then yeah, in this movie, it's a cereal that's called Fu Manchus. What a movie.
Oh no, okay, Christopher Lee did it. Well, maybe there was multiple Fu Manchu movies.
I believe that it was both because
okay, yeah, no, it was both. It is both.
Yeah, I would believe
I'm seeing
that.
Harry Agar Lyons, Warner Oland, Boris Karloff, Lou Marcel, Henry Brandon, John Carradine, Glenn Gordon, Christopher Lee, Peter Sellers, Nicolas Cage. When?
Nicolas
Cage. Maybe like an animated version?
Maybe.
Oh, in Grindhouse.
Yeah. Fake trailer. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, apparently there was a Fu Manchu movie in the 80s.
Okay.
But like literally 1980, so... And that was Peter Sellers. Random.
Wait, really? Peter Sellers? Wait, 1980. Didn't he die in 1980?
Yes.
Huh.
Oh, was that his last movie then?
This keeps getting better and better.
Let me see his film. Let me pull up the boy's filmography.
Yeah, we need to fact check this.
Okay, so the last movie he was alive for was the finished plot of Dr. Fu Manchu.
Okay.
He was also uncredited as a director for that movie. The last movie that he was technically in was in '82, Trail to Pink Panther.
Right.
Which it's all previously cut footage from previous films.
Right. Yeah.
So okay. I'm going to say that the yellow face paint killed him.
Yeah. Oh, that was amazing. That was good research. I like that we learned something new.
Let me see what he actually fucking looked like in that movie.
Yeah.
The fuck am I what am I looking at here?
Oh boy, you need to post a picture.
I have to make sure that I'm in a chat with you because I almost sent this to Olivia.
Yeah, woo! It's terrible.
Doggy.
All right, post a Freddy picture to make it all better.
Okay.
Yeah, just that I don't have to look at this the whole time because it's funny right now, but it's going to get progressively not funny as I have to keep looking at it by Nightmare 3.
Here you
go. Much better. Okay.
There you go.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I can't wait for that scene in the next movie. Wait a minute.
So anyway, Elm Street 2. Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about the actual deaths. You know, all two of them. So we have
the gayest thing ever, and then knife.
Yes. So well, they're both pretty gay when you really think about it.
The movie's gay.
I know the whole movie's gay. Exactly. Yes. I was told
that instead.
Okay. Yeah, we have.
We should probably at least acknowledge because
yes, okay. It is the elephant in the room, the gay elephant in the room,
the rainbow elephant in the room.
So yeah, explain what you were explaining to me before the show. about how people knew except the director or something.
Like everyone simultaneously knew but also didn't know.
Right. Yeah.
So okay, this movie has a reputation as being the gay nightmare movie. Because like the lead actor or Mark Patton, who played Jesse, I don't know if he was openly gay at the time or if he was still in the closet. I don't know, but he's gay. And I think it was known to some people. I don't think the director apparently didn't know.
Right.
And like there's a lot of scenes in the movie where like it feels, because like people bring up that like he seems less interested in his girlfriend character than he is like the friend character, because like, oh, he has the scene where he's making out with his girlfriend and it's the least convincing thing ever.
I mean, the whole time,
and then he immediately runs out into the friend's room and like, I need your help. There's someone inside me.
Yeah, there's someone inside me, and I hope it's you. Yeah, just the fact that anytime his girlfriend was like, I love you, I was like, really? You do? Huh.
That was the least convincing kiss I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, it's very... I did not buy their relationship for 1 second. Absolutely not.
There's the famous dancing scene, which you have your profile pic for now.
I love the dancing scene. I am upset. Well, first of all, so it starts off with him being like, all right, Dad, I'm going out. And his dad, Clu Gallagher, is like, no, I told you to unpack your stuff. And so he stomps away.
He never unpacked, even though he's been in that house for like a couple weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. So then he stomps up the stairs in the gayest way possible, which is funny already. But then, yeah, then he starts to clean his room by dancing to some real 80s music. And
I think it's the song Touch Me All Night Long by Wish and Fonda Ray.
And it's so funny because he's just dancing on his bed. He's using his butt to like hit the fucking drawer to close it. It's so funny.
Apparently, you finish.
He starts using the fucking like popper. Like he's supposed to be using it as a microphone because that's what you do. You use like a stick as a microphone, but he's not singing along to the words. He's just putting it near his mouth and stroking it. And then he starts using it as like, you know, like Rich Evans with the droid in that Star Wars video, and starts like stroking it on his bed. And then his mom and his friend walk in and it pops.
And also he has a sign on his door that says no chicks.
What subtext?
Like apparently Mark Patton did not want to film that scene. He kept putting it off until like it was one of the last things they had to do. And they had like no choreography for that either. They didn't even know what to do for the scene.
Yeah, so
that's what we ended up with.
Yeah, and you know what? I love it. It's my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Apparently Mark Patton said that scene plays at gay bars he goes to all the time.
I feel really bad now, but it's such a good scene. It's so funny.
It's like, I feel like there's at least some humor there for him, but like there's a documentary that came out a couple years ago called Scream Queen, My Nightmare at Elm Street, about like his perspective on the making of the movie. I have not seen it yet. I hear it's a good documentary and like it goes over like what happened with him, because like he did like 1 or 2 other movies after that, but he didn't want to be typecast as just like the gay character. So he kind of just retired from acting.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame because he's not that bad of an actor. I actually thought his performance was very interesting in this movie. He's obviously not my go-to for favorite main character in a nightmare film, but I still think he did a good job for what he was given.
Yeah. Like there's also like all the other stuff, because like you have like Freddy saying, I need your body. So, like, the body possession. It's like you can kind of like get some subtext out there of like how he's being, how do I word this? I feel like I'm trying to say here, because like a gay youth trying to figure out who they are, like you have Freddy possessing him.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how to really word this, but I think people can at least understand what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, like there's like, not only is it a gay film, it's a little homophobic. Because I didn't really see it that way. I guess you could interpret it that way.
I'm not trying to interpret it as being homophobic. I'm trying to like, in terms of like coming to terms of sexuality, kind of.
Sure.
You can kind of get like something of it out of that with that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying homophobic because I remember I read like a review where it's like, this is the most homophobic movie ever, and it's like some straight guy saying that. So it's like, okay,
Usually straight people are the ones that are saying that.
yeah,
I think a lot of, because like I think the movie actually is pretty popular in the gay community.
absolutely.
From what I've heard.
I could see that. Yeah, because it is hilarious.
Yeah.
But also,
the gym scene,
the
gym death,
is
what we ignored to talk about this.
Right. So let's talk about the gym death. So, well, okay.
We have. So it's established early in the movie that like the gym teacher apparently goes to gay bars.
Yeah, as like a throwaway line though, is like, he goes to gay bars, because that's just what kids at that age would be like. Oh, my teacher, he goes to gay bars. He's so stupid.
Yeah, of course the gym teacher is the one that does that.
Right, exactly. So then, he ends up going to a gay bar. At first I thought this was a dream sequence, but no, he literally just walks into a gay bar and is like, I would like a beer, please. And the bartender's like, yeah, okay, this underage kid's in here asking for a beer. Here you go.
It's clear on if it's a dream or not.
Well, that's
like the fantastical stuff. Well, I guess it's also one of the things in the movie breaks the rules because fantastical things happen all the time in this movie.
Right.
It's not very clear on what is a dream and what isn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like a dream. And then
then there's like the throwaway stuff like, yeah, we found him on the highway naked.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So was he just sleepwalking while he was doing this? Did he like actually kill him for real? Was it because they found the gym teacher's body in the school?
Right. Exactly. So it's like, yeah, did that actually happen? Because then he's at the bar and the gym teacher comes up to him being like, you're in trouble. And then all of a sudden they're at the school now. It's like, no, that's not realistic. You would take him home.
Yeah. So that has to be a dream, right?
Right.
And then like all the balls flying. And there's like the fucking towel whip.
Yeah. That's how he dies. The towel whip to the ass.
He basically just gets. Well, I think Freddy does show up.
Freddy does slice him, but I just love the scene of just his ass getting whipped by the towel. It's great.
Which, like in the documentary when they talk about this, like, yeah, we didn't know the movie was gay making it, but looking back, watching it, and just like a bunch of click montage of all that, like the dance scene, the towel whip, and then the towel whip, and they just say it was so obvious.
Were they eyeless, earless, headless? Like, are you kidding me?
My belief is that it was the 80s and they just were that stupid.
I guess so. Yeah, it's bizarre.
Apparently, because like the director had no clue, some of the other people had no clue, and then he like listened to like the screenwriter and he's like, no, I knew what I was doing. It was supposed to be subtext. I knew what I was doing.
No subtext. There is zero subtext. It is out in the open, but whatever.
He wanted to be subtext, but he failed at it.
Yeah.
He tried to make it subtext. He just made a text.
He failed successfully. But yeah, no, I still love the effects of that kill because it is really cool seeing the guy just like, tied up and all the balls are flying everywhere. It's great. And then
the stuff of like Mark with Jesse also like being Freddy is pretty cool usually.
Ooh, I love how you see him in the showers, then the steam kind of covers him up, and then Freddy emerges from the steam. Like, that's great. That's brilliant.
Basic effect, but it works.
It works, yeah. Exactly. Basic but effective.
Like all the stuff like he has Freddy's claw, the stuff with the reflections, it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get to the other kill.
The big effect where like Freddy like comes out of his chest.
Oh, it's spectacular, dude. I love the shot of like you can see Freddy's eye inside Jesse's mouth. Oh, dude.
There's like the claws coming out of his hand.
Oh my god, it's spectacular. That is easily the best effect in the movie.
Like I think it probably is one of the best effects in this series, in all honesty.
Which is really cool, yeah, that this movie gets one of the best effects.
It doesn't save the movie for me, but it's a really cool effect.
No, it does not save the movie. No, because the movie doesn't peak after that. It just kind of goes downward from there. Occasionally a cool scene, but the ending is easily where the movie like sucks the most. It is so boring and monotonous once they get to the boiler factory.
Well, because it takes so long for them to get there, and then like it's just a lot of talking when they're there.
Yeah, and
it's not a great payoff.
No, it's really not. It's so slow.
Oh, but we did forget to talk about one of the best scenes in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
By which I mean one of the most confusing scenes in the movie. The parrot.
Ooh, the bird.
Yeah. So this movie kind of breaks the rules because like weird shit just happens in this movie in real life too.
Exactly.
For
Yeah. So,
no reason.
so the family is in the living room and they put the birds to sleep because they have birds, and then the cage starts shaking and they take the they take the cover off the bird cage, and
one of the birds killed the other.
Yeah, one of the birds just dies, and so then the other one is just like freaking the fuck out and starts flying everywhere and like
starts attacking everybody.
Cuts up the dad's face.
And then all of a sudden it just blows up.
It just explodes into a fire.
And it's not a dream sequence.
Yeah,
that just actually happened.
What was the point of that, too?
It's like Freddy has control over the whole house. It's like the one of the problems in the movie is that like the nightmare doesn't really matter because shit's just happening no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah. So exactly. Yeah, and then you have the toaster burning up later in the movie because it's completely
like that just
pointless.
happens.
Yeah, it's completely pointless.
Like, well, it's not explained, and it doesn't go with the logic of the last movie and the movies to come.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why this movie's seen as the black sheep of the franchise.
Well, also because it's just kind of boring in other places.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is a shame because the highlights are very good.
It's just that the rest, it's like a Night of the Demon where you have this scene where like he rips the guy's dick off, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But then the rest of it is just the most generic slasher you've ever seen.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like we keep bringing up the pool party. So it's like the girlfriend character is throwing a pool party with all her friends, with like the whole town is there basically, and you just keep getting kind of back to these shots of people having fun at the pool, and there's like scenes of like him making out with the girlfriend finally, cutting to the pool back and forth, and then he realizes he's Freddy or something, and he runs to the best friend character, and it keeps intercutting the fucking pool party, and everything is just dragging so long. There's a lot of things happen without anything happening.
Yeah, and you think
until eventually we get to the scene where like Freddy comes out of his chest and now he is Freddy, because that's like the big theme of the movie where Freddy needs Jesse to kill people to gain power back, where it's like, I'm taking over your body, we're the same person now basically.
And so you'd think this pool party with all these helpless teenagers would be the perfect climax for the movie, where Freddy's just a kid in the candy store here. But they don't take advantage of that.
Like he bursts out of the scene because like there's cool things from him turning invisible and stuff. Like he's invisible when he breaks out of the door, and like everyone's like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Yeah,
and Freddy can just starts appearing everywhere, and he does slice some people up. He doesn't really do a whole lot other than that.
Nope.
I like the part where like he's like up against the fire, and he's like, "You're all my children."
Yeah,
that's a cool line. It's perfect with the series. It's a cool moment. There's a lot of things happening in that scene, though, that just is not a lot of things happening.
Exactly. Yeah, because then nothing really builds up to anything after that. He just kind of walks away, and then the rest of the climax is, again, in that factory with the girlfriend and nobody else. And
she just kind of like has to talk him down, saying, Jesse, I know you're still in there. I love you. Over and over again until eventually Freddy's like, no homo, and then turns back into him.
Yeah. And okay.
And then the movie's over. And then and we're on the bus again, and it's like, it's fine. Freddy's gone. And then his glove pops out of the one girl that we didn't see a whole lot of throughout the movie for some reason. And then we go back to the desert.
Yeah, and that's the movie. That was funny, but not because the movie actually made it funny, because the movie just didn't know how to end, and so it was kind of just pathetic. The
alien reference, I guess.
I guess, sure. Why not?
Why that girl gets the glove?
You weren't expecting it.
I guess because she's the one who talked last.
Sure.
Could have been the girlfriend.
It literally could have been anybody, and it wouldn't have mattered.
It could have been Robert Englund himself.
Exactly. He could have been like, "Hey guys, it's me, Robert Englund." Ah!
ideas here is just it was just too soon, and they didn't know what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Now, with that all said, I still had a lot of fun with this movie. I still want to give big shout outs to the scenes that were so funny and absurd that I'm never going to forget them. I still had fun with this movie, but so far this is the worst movie of the bunch.
Whether or not it will remain the worst yet to be seen. I'm going to make the prediction that it will probably be the remake.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see now, won't we?
We'll have to wait and see. It'll probably be the remake. Da-da-da-da-da. So after this movie, because the movie's reception was middling, but it still made a good amount of money that they're like, okay, we can keep going at least.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It did well. It just like the reception wasn't all there, as mixed.
Yeah. I can see that.
For the next movie, Wes Craven came back to write the movie. I keep forgetting that he didn't actually direct it, but he just wrote it.
No, it's directed by the guy who directed The Mask.
So yeah, it was directed by Chuck Russell, but Wes Craven came back to do at least write it and do the screenplay. It got slightly reworked after that because apparently Wes's original script was a lot darker. Like they showed pictures of some of the original script cuts that Wes wrote, and apparently like Freddy was like much more crass. Like he said the C word at one point.
Nice.
Like, I'm gonna shit on your corpse. Doesn't really fit, but I see what he's going for.
Yeah.
I think that rewrite was probably better at that point.
Well,
but yeah,
because at this point,
came back.
No, you go ahead.
He came back to get things more on track, and I think that worked. With his involvement, they were able to get back Heather Langenkamp and John Saxon.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I was saying, so you can go now.
Well, because at this point, yes, I think we've established that Freddy works better as a funny villain. And so I appreciate Wes coming back and maybe giving the groundwork for an actual story as opposed to the last one. This one feels like an actual evolution of the first one. But yeah, minus all the darker stuff, still make it, you still need to make it you still need to make it fun, because that's what Nightmare on Elm Street has become at this point. It is supposed to be absurd, not that serious.
Some darker elements to this one. I feel like Freddy feels more like a better blend between what we're about to get and what we've had before in this movie.
Sure, yeah.
Because like more so in the beginning, they still keep him more in the dark and he's not as chatty yet. But like as the movie goes on, we get more and more of that.
Yeah, and
like I think it's like you see the character progressing to what people know him as now throughout the film.
Yeah, and you know what? They still have darker elements there because of his backstory.
Yeah, because we start getting more of that information.
Right, exactly.
There's also the fact that the movie takes place at a mental hospital for suicide attemptees.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about this movie, is that the way it establishes Freddy in this movie is that it's not just Nancy, it's not just one person, it's practically every teenager.
It's the last of the Elm Street kids.
Specifically. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's multiple people, and like I remember there was a part at the beginning where you hear on the radio, it's like, oh, 2 more suicide attempts. It's like, holy shit! Like, yeah, Freddy is really starting to amp up in terms of threatening nature. Like, that's good. Like, that is a good evolution of what was left off at the first movie.
Yeah, we even see at the beginning of this movie, the first dream sequence, he straight up makes it look like Kristen attempted to cut her wrists.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant.
We know he's the one that did it, but like he made it look like she grabbed the razor herself.
Yeah, it's so brilliant, so brilliant. That is a guy with a plan right there.
And like we talk about like that, how we talk about Elm Street as an effects movie, and like the other movies have great effects. This movie is where we see, no, this is an effects movie.
Oh, dude.
Like, you want to see some awesome practical effects. Elm Street free. Where do we want to really start with the movie?
Let's start at the story. Because it's simple enough, I would argue, the story.
Okay, so the movie opens with a girl named Kristen who... She doesn't live in that house, but she has like dreams of the house because the house is very indicative of Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
We get that nice montage of her making a paper mache sculpture of the house.
Yep.
And then we get the it's set to Dream Warriors later, the song by Dawkins.
Mm-hmm.
a band that was probably popular enough back in the 80s, but nowadays people only know it for Dream Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And Into the Fire, which is a song that actually, did I say Dream Warriors plays? I meant Into the Fire plays.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You're right.
Into the Fire plays, Dream Warriors plays over the credits.
Yes. That sounds more correct.
Yeah. It's Into the Fire. We got Into the Fire playing, and then the mother comes in like you're gonna wake the whole neighborhood. What are you doing? It's 1:00. I was waiting for you, because the mother is like kind of absent. She's a single mother. She's trying to date around. Where does she keep the bourbon?
We never find out where she keeps the bourbon.
Well, we see the kitchen in the next movie, so I'm imagining that's where the bourbon is.
Maybe.
So like we get the sense like she doesn't have the best relationship with her mother. Andale.
Mm-hmm. On delay.
But like again, like a lot of these kids have broken homes, because even in the next movie, broken home.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's really conveyed really well in this film.
Yeah, like they do a good job establishing the characters, even the ones they don't have that much time to establish.
Yeah.
Other than maybe Philip, because he has to go first, but you know.
But even still, I still like Philip from what little I saw of him.
They do a good job establishing the characters and what they're going through.
Yes.
We know they have all the same shared context of they are here because of Freddy made it look like they tried to kill themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that when Freddy does kill them, it makes it look like a suicide.
Yeah, exactly.
He's hiding his crimes, effectively.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he does so less so throughout the movie, but we'll get to that.
Well, that's because at that point, like, the adults know it's him.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Also, another thing I forgot to mention that doesn't really fit anywhere here, but like you watch all these slasher movies, you just see the kills, you never really see the aftermath of them. Elm Street takes the time to show you the funerals.
Oh yeah, especially in the fourth one, which we can probably save that for the fourth one.
But it's like they actually do like show that there are ramifications here.
Mm-hmm.
People are dying.
Yeah.
So it's like it makes you feel for the characters more.
Mm-hmm. Especially this one. Like I'll say it straight up right now. So far, this is my favorite of the franchise.
Like people probably know because I always said that it's my favorite of the franchise earlier. I also just straight up, this is just one of my favorite movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a tradition where I just watch this every Christmas Eve because, the title screen is red and green. That makes it a Christmas movie.
I remember, reading that in your review, and I'm thinking, oh, that'd be a great Christmas tradition.
Because I did that.
Yeah.
He's wearing a Christmas sweater. It counts.
Yeah, it counts.
I don't know what you want me to say.
Yeah.
It just is.
You know what? This is all another third slasher film that's a Christmas movie. How about that?
Garbage day. I want to believe that scene in the bar in Terrifier 3 was a Garbage Day reference. I want to believe.
You know what?
I know he uses guns before, but I want to believe.
I'm willing to believe it too, because fuck you.
I don't want to fuck him. And he just was like, shucks.
So Elm Street 3.
Yeah. So Freddy then in the dream sequence, which like the first dream sequence, what all happens in the first dream because it's 2 parts.
Mm-hmm.
She wakes up inside the Elm Street house and Freddy's chasing her, and we get like that cool effect of like her being in the fake quicksand. Which like, and I feel like we've all had dreams like that where like we can't move correctly for whatever reason.
Oh yeah, it's the worst. It's
like, why can I not walk normally? So it's like you get that sensation, and she just nearly avoids Freddy, and she tries to save the jump rope girl, who then turns out to be a skeleton.
That was a great reveal. Yeah, and you're hurting me.
And then she fake wakes up, and like the sink becomes Freddy.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Which sounds ridiculous explaining it, but like, no, the effect is really cool.
Oh, dude, the effect is so cool because the faucets like grab her hands, and then it's him, and that's when he like slices her wrist, and then you see from the mom's perspective when she opens the door, and you see it looks like she was the one who cut herself.
Because she's holding the razor and everything.
Yeah. And so I was talking about with the first movie how it got really repetitive where the adults aren't believing the kids, or really anybody believing that Freddy's real. Whereas here, I'm willing to forgive it because these are mental patients. And so...
Yeah.
And it's...
And you actually... we actually like see like from the perspective of what is happening, because like he made it look like a suicide attempt.
Yeah.
So of course that's what they're gonna think happened.
Right, exactly. And of course the
Also,
doctors are not going to immediately believe. They're going to need evidence. And so that's why one of the doctors does eventually believe them.
because at that point Nancy is one of them and manages to like convince him to go through with an experiment where he sees firsthand, no, this is real.
Exactly. Yeah.
I also think this movie's just better paced in general than the first movie.
Oh, incredibly so.
That also helps.
Yeah, every scene,
because there's more happening.
Yeah, every scene goes into the next one, like flows into the next one perfectly, where they realize, okay, this isn't working, we got to try this. Okay, this isn't working, we got to try this. Yeah, it builds upon itself. You know, because that's what a script is supposed to do. That's what a movie is supposed to do, is build upon the previous scene.
But then she ends up in the hospital, which is the same hospital that is in Freddy versus Jason, for those who watched the last year's podcast.
Mm-hmm. Now I know.
Small little Easter egg.
Yeah.
And it gets established that we get some brief introductions to a lot of the characters. We see Kincaid, we see Joey, we see Philip, we see Wheelchair Boy, I think.
Yeah, we see Taryn.
Yeah. We get introduced to our colorful cast of characters.
And this is a colorful cast of characters. I like these characters.
Yeah. And then we got the notice that there's a new doctor coming to work there, who is later revealed to be a returning Nancy from the first movie.
That's great. That's great.
And for the record, like this movie only came out 3 years after the first movie, and they do a really good job of making Nancy look a lot older. Because I think at this point in time, because I think Heather Langenkamp was only like 20 when she shot the first movie.
Yes.
So she'd only be like 23, 24 at this point in time. And they make it look like she does look a lot older.
Yeah.
With the wig and everything. They did a good job on that. See, Disney, it can be done. So, like, now that we have Nancy in there, she already has the exact experiences with Freddy. So, like, she knows that this is real. She just has to figure out how to convince the other doctors to go with it in a way that doesn't make her also look crazy.
Exactly. Oh, that is a very big thing to bring up. Yeah, she doesn't want to make herself look crazy, because then otherwise she's not going to be taken seriously. Exactly. So yeah, Nancy is very smart in that regard. It's only until, later in the movie when she starts becoming very, very desperate does she start freaking the fuck out and making things, a lot crazier.
But by that point, she does at least manage to convince Neo to go through with it, at which point then he sees firsthand, oh, shit, this is real.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like we have that going on, and like Nancy gets to play like the both worlds. So she has to convince the doctors to go through with this, but she also has to convince the kids that I actually literally know what you're going through, because I went through this too.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean I knew what it's like being a teenager. No, I meant I lived in that fucking house and the dude wears a green sweater.
Yeah. And then, of course, we're introduced to the aspect that Kristen can pull people into her dreams.
Kristen, played by Patricia Arquette.
Patricia Arquette. You got it right.
Yeah. Who, refresh my memory on what she did after this movie, because like she's a pretty well-known name, correct?
Yeah, Arquette, she's part of the Arquette acting family, so she's related to David Arquette, who was in the Scream movies. But Patricia Arquette, like I said, she was in Ed Wood.
Yeah.
What else was she in? She was
all right, let me fucking Wikipedia.
Yeah. Well, the listeners will know this. She was in Toy Story 4, because that's the only movie they've ever watched.
Elm Street 3. Oh, apparently this was her first movie role. She's probably in like TV before this. Okay, yeah, same year she was in a TV show. So this might have been her first actual movie, but she was in a Pretty Smart, Uncle Buck, True Romance, Ed Wood, Flirting with Disaster, Lost Highway, Stigmata, Bringing Out the Dead, Little Nicky, Lady and the Tramp 2, Scamp's Adventure.
Oh, really?
Holes, Fast Food Nation, Boyhood.
Took 12 years to make.
Toy Story 4, You Cannot Kill David Arquette, which is a documentary apparently.
Yeah.
She's filming a movie now called The Last Disturbance of Madeline Hyde.
Oh, that one.
She was in an episode of The Outsiders, an episode of Tales from the Crypt. Of course, she was in Law and Order SVU at one point. Everyone was.
Yeah.
She was in 10 episodes of Boardwalk Empire. She was in 9 episodes of Severance. So good news, James knows who she is technically. And she was in a Rammstein music video once.
Good for her.
Like a Rolling Stone by the Rolling Stones. She was in the Dream Warriors music video by default.
Duh.
Is Like a Rolling Stone the song I'm thinking of?
Might be.
No, I don't think that is the song I'm thinking about.
Never
mind. Well, yeah, so like, it's funny that Nightmare on Elm Street somehow has like these famous actors in it that just don't have anything to do with the series.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like Friday you get Kevin Bacon and that's it, but here we have you get like Johnny Depp. No, you get Patricia Arquette. Roseanne made a cameo once. You get Tuesday Night, I think, is at least decently known. She had a career. She does music.
I mean, with a name like Tuesday Night.
Yeah. And that's night with a K for the record.
Exactly.
So it makes it cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
What were we talking about beforehand with Patricia Arquette? She plays Kristen.
She does play Kristen.
She can pull people into her dreams.
Exactly, yeah.
That's her unique ability.
All right, we're back on track.
Because one of the things with the movie is that, like, in the dream world, they can take advantage of the fact that they are in a dream to do their own stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Kincaid is super strong in his dreams, so that becomes, like, his power. Kristen becomes more athletic, other than having the power to pull people in. Joey can actually fucking talk.
Wheels, the wheelchair guy, can actually walk.
And he can become a wizard.
Yeah, he can become a wizard, and then Taryn, the bad girl, becomes a bad girl.
Better girl.
Yeah, she has a mohawk though.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, one night during filming, they all went out for Chinese food after filming, and she was still in the costume.
That's funny.
So everyone was just like looking at her the whole time they were in the Chinese restaurant.
And she had to be like, we're filming Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And they're like, ah.
Well, it was like they were looking at her and she's like, I'll have the chop suey. And like everyone backed off after that when she said that. It's like, damn, girl. She pulled it off.
She did.
Based.
Yeah, again, I really do like these characters. And I like that even though the fact that they have powers in the dreams is a little corny, at least it
also makes sense.
It does make sense, and it is reflective of their personalities. So again, that really shows that Wes Craven had something to do with the screenplay, because there's reasons, there's a point to them having these powers in the dreams. It's not just a free for all.
Set up beforehand.
Yeah, it's set up beforehand. Exactly. Yeah, it's a very very tight script for a horror film.
We get the context that at one point Taryn was doing drugs, so like we have like the one nurse who's like, hey, I can get you the hookup if you need it. We see like them playing D&D at one point, so like that when Will's the DM.
Yeah.
So like, okay, that's set up now.
Yeah.
We see Philip making the puppets, which comes back for his death.
Yeah, it's all very clever.
And the deaths themselves, pretty cool.
All right, let's start talking about the deaths, because that is so. When we talk about the effects,
just the dream sequences in general.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the worm?
Oh, so the worm, I distinctly remember the worm as being part of that montage at the beginning of Freddy vs. Jason, just being like, wait a minute, there's a worm? And then, well, now I know.
Like, what was your reaction when it first popped up?
I was like, oh shit, that's the worm scene from Freddy vs. Jason. But that it was actually a really cool scene where Freddy's just a worm and he's chomping down on Kristen, which it looked really good. The special effects, like the fact that she's almost being eaten by this fucking worm Freddy face, it was freaky.
When they apparently, like, behind the scenes when they were making like the amateur, the puppet for that, two of the producers walked in and saw it and like, that looks like a giant dick. And like the guy making it was like, yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about this.
And the guys were like, well, we can't literally have a giant dick on screen. Paint it green to make it look slightly less phallic. Which I think, like, having it be a little phallic also like does go in like Freddy's character.
Yeah, of course, Freddy would.
We haven't actually brought it up yet. Originally, because like we Freddy was a child murderer beforehand. there comes a question of, did he only murder or did he do other things? Originally, they were going to go more in on that to make him actually have molested them.
Okay.
But they backpedaled that because around the time the movie was being made, there were actual real life news stories of like a bunch of teachers being accused of that.
Right.
Like a whole ring doing that. So like, okay, we can't do that too much. So it just kind of became like a subtextual did he kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I think does work better.
Yeah, but also, I mean, you know, just the fact that they say he was a child murderer is already evil enough,
Yeah.
you know? And
That's already evil enough.
The rest...
So, like, you don't need to go fully into it, because, like, having it be, like, maybe not is just enough, because, like, what if he did, and that plays with the fear a little more?
Exactly, yes.
So him being a little phallic there kind of goes in with that nature of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So the worm is just glomping her down, and then she pulls Nancy into the dream. And like there's like 3 different kinds of puppets and animatronics for the worm. They all look great. Like the scene where like he looks up in pain, like sees Nancy and just throws you.
Yeah. Which, by the way,
like, oh shit, dog.
By the way, I love the way Nancy is pulled into the dream, where she falls into the chair and it just like fades in, like making it look like she just completely disappeared into the chair. Like, again, simple effect, but very effective.
And then she sees her being eaten by something, like, what the fuck, and helps her out, and then realizes, oh, that's Freddy.
Yeah. This guy again.
You. The one that got away.
Yeah.
So now, like, their motivations, both Freddy and Nancy's motivations are now set for real. Because, like, now it's like, oh, you're back. Now I have to kill you, too. There's so many great effects in this movie, and all the dream sequences are great. Because, like, the next one we get is, like, the stop-motion puppet scene.
Oh, dude. Yeah, so I want to talk about this. So, yeah, the stop-motion puppet scene where he just becomes one of Philip's puppets. But then also, when he slices Philip open and uses his veins as puppet strings. That got me good. I was absolutely just squeamish at that.
Yeah, like, it's a great effect, and it still kind of squeaks me out a little bit, even though I know what it looks like. Because, like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. And it's only the first kill, so that's impressive.
And, like, he just puppets him throughout the hallways up till he gets to, like, a tower to make it look like he jumps.
Oh, I love that shot of Freddy just kind of in the night sky, just giant, like, holding on to him, like, as a puppeteer. Like, that's a great visual.
Because at this point, we just see Freddy just fully taking advantage of all the dream stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not just like, him with his claw.
The stuff in one was great, but here they just go all out. I think adding that fantastical element really helps the character.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
It's like you can go both ways, making it look more realistic but you can also have it be like such more fantastical, and it's great going back and forth, because it's like you can just fuck with the kids so much more and the parents that way.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, it just looks like she had an asthma attack or something, which is scary enough in its own, but then there's also, he fucking exploded. They're both scary enough in their own rights in the context of the film. Because, like, I imagine, like, being a parent to one of those kids, it's like, you get the call that your child had a fatal asthma attack in the middle of school. Horrifying. You wake in the middle of the night to a weird sound, you go to your kid's room, they fucking exploded into a blood puddle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, both were terrifying.
Yeah. Now, we also got to talk about the TV scene.
Probably the most famous scene in the series.
Yeah. Well, first off, I just want to shout out that scene because that girl is watching Critters at first, which is really funny.
And then we get a cameo by Dick Cavett and Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Yeah. Because I was kind of annoyed with the credits where it says like guest starring, special appearance by Dick Cavett and Zsa Zsa Gabor. It's like, okay, well now I'm going to be looking for them in the movie, and then we get that scene where it's like, oh, okay, they're going to make like a Freddy joke with that. It's like, you know, it would have been better if they just didn't do that. Like, it'd be more of a surprise that Dick Cavett and Zsa Zsa Gabor just kind of show up, you know? It's a little thing, but it's just something that kind of bothers me.
Probably in the contract.
Yeah, no, I know exactly why. but it's just annoying.
It's like you kind of have to. You can't not.
Yeah.
It is funny though that Dick Cavett says, "Who gives a fuck what you think?"
Yeah.
Yeah, then that's like one of those things like, oh, they managed to land Dick Cavett. That was in Joshua Gabor. That was probably a big deal back then.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because you wouldn't have expected Dick Cavett to say that, but there it is.
Well, even just the fact that they're in this movie that they managed to land them and have Freddy on the screen with them, it's like, yeah, that kind of tells you something about the character, doesn't it?
Yeah, and how big he was
able
at that
to be
time.
with them.
Yeah.
Well, Dream Warriors was like the movie that got Freddy to be mainstream. Because he was known before that, like had the cult following, and the movies did well. Dream Warriors was the explosion.
Right.
Because after this, that was when all the merch started happening, and Freddy became a household name. But yeah, so that scene. So now that you finally watched the movie, because like you've probably heard the line and maybe seen the clip, but like actually seeing it in the context of the movie,
yeah,
how'd that go?
So this was absolutely my first time just seeing it in general, because I've heard "Welcome to Prime Time, Bitch," but I don't think I've ever actually seen the clip. So seeing it, yeah, it was electric. It was amazing. That's when I read your review, and it's like 40 minutes into this movie, it becomes a franchise. It's like, yeah, that scene absolutely is.
Did you know that it was Did you know it was going to be the scene when you were watching it? Did you know that's when the line was going to happen?
You know, the fact that when his head pops out of the TV, that's when I'm like, oh, I think it's coming. This is it. And it happened.
This is it, Jenna. Your big break in TV. Literally.
Well, see, that's where it's like, okay, now we're starting to see this as, it's no longer that the kids look like they killed themselves, because how do you explain her head in the TV, you know? It happens.
Like, you ask Lawrence Fishburne what happened. I don't fucking know. That's the other thing. Lawrence Fishburne is in this movie.
And he's credited as Larry Fishburne. I was like, that doesn't sound right. That's not the Morpheus I know.
Like, okay, Jenna, you can continue watching TV, but I was not here. He comes back. I was not here. I mean, the TV effect, though, it also is pretty cool because of the arms coming out and grabbing her.
Oh, absolutely.
And just the head coming out.
Oh, yeah. The head coming out and how it just kind of like peels away. That's phenomenal.
It's also the first big Freddy one-liner. It's the most famous one, and it's also really the first one. Because at this point, this is when Freddy really does become the Freddy we know.
Yeah.
Because like from this point on, then it's like we get the "Let's get high." It's back in the saddle.
Oh, dude, the "Let's get high." Yeah,
tongue-tied. You feeling tongue-tied?
No, but dude, the hypodermic needles as his claws, and then he just kind of like, oh god, the holes in Taryn's arms, how they're just like making that noise. I'm like, oh, that was the other part that really got me squeamish. And then when he just sticks the needles into the arms, it was just like,
There's actually an effect that they didn't get to do in that scene, because like, you know how it just kind of cuts off after he stabs her?
Yeah.
Originally, after he injects her head was going to blow up.
Oh, dude.
They couldn't get the effect correctly.
Oh, okay.
They couldn't get it filmed correctly, so like we just had to cut away.
Yeah, I mean, it's implied that she dies after that.
Yeah, apparently there were like a lot of issues on set of the movie where tensions were very high, because after the second movie, this kind of was a make or break moment.
Yeah,
and it ended up that it was a make, but like tensions were extremely high on set all the time. That was like, we got to get this movie done, and it was a rough filming experience, but like at the end of the day, like this is the fan favorite film. It paid off.
Oh, absolutely.
We have like the Wizard Master scene with the fucked up wheelchair. That's also where you get the sense of like Freddy is like a lot stronger than before, because like the magic just didn't work. But like, cool moment.
Yeah, it's still a cool moment. Yeah, I mean, I will say, I don't like that he's in a Dracula cape. It's like, come on, just give him a big beard and a big wizard hat, big Gandalf wizard hat. But whatever, it doesn't matter.
He gets stabbed anyway, and apparently, because the Freddy claw is not retractable in real life, to film that scene where he gets stabbed, they apparently put a 2x4 under the costume. And they just kind of had to hope that Robert stabbed correctly.
And he did, because I think that guy's still alive.
Yeah, well, he was in the documentary. He was the one that said it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. That's another thing we didn't really talk about the Freddy claw yet.
It is iconic.
And like, because you notice how like Freddy's posture, like he always has like that side of his body is always like a little hanging down a little. That's because the claw is actually heavy because it's made of fucking metal.
No kidding. I would.
So it's like, no, it's actually heavy. So that's just how. So it just kind of informed his posture. Like it does weigh him down a bit, and after all, he just adopted that as the Freddy posture.
The Freddy posture. Okay. You know what? I would have never thought that.
Because it is made of metal. Like he does have blades on it. That would be pretty heavy in real life.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, of course, if you go to a Halloween store like Spirit Halloween and buy like the cheapo Ruby's glove, yeah, that's made of plastic and shit.
Right.
There are places of people that will make metal gloves, like NECA and Trick or Treat Studios do use metal for theirs.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get the NECA one at some point. It's just that I don't feel like spending the $70 right now. And I will not be buying the Trick or Treat Studios glove because for the price of that one, you could buy free NECA gloves. At least they come with the mannequin hands to display them.
That's good, at least.
Like I have one of the cheaper Ruby's gloves with me. It's like the second in line one.
Yeah.
It's like it's very cheap. Like for a costume piece, it looks fine, but you're not gonna put this on display. There's like 2 tears that happen just naturally just from using it normally. I mean, it's fun to put on, just go like wheeze, but like I wouldn't display this.
No, of course not.
I guess, like, just in general, how do you feel about the Freddy glove as a weapon?
It's interesting because I would never have came up with it, but the fact that somebody did is unique enough. And it's obviously iconic at this point.
Yeah.
It's just we're getting into the era where it's not really the main weapon anymore, Well,
like, he still uses, like, the finisher a lot of the times. It's like,
yeah.
He still effectively just stabs the Wizard Master at the end. He stabs... spoilers for the next movie, he still stabs one of the kids with it normally.
Yeah.
He stabs someone at the end of this movie. He still will use it. It's just, it's meant to... The thing with a lot of the kills is that, like, it's about the setup and the chase.
Mm-hmm.
The actual kill itself usually doesn't need to be all that intensive because, like, it's just the claw.
Sure.
But, like, a lot of it is, like, the intimidation factor, him scraping it against the boilers, doing like the big elaborate sequences to get to the kill.
Yeah, and again, it is a part of his identity now. Like whenever you see Freddy Krueger parodied and stuff, he always has the glove with the blades on it.
The woodshop project from hell.
Yeah.
Because we see like at the beginning of the first movie him actually like, making it over the opening credits, like in his garage.
Yeah.
Like it is just something he made in his garage to torture kids.
Yeah, just cuz.
Yeah. And it looks creepy.
Very, very much so. If somebody approached me with that, I'd be terrified.
It's like if a guy was just walking down the street with something like that, it's like I'm calling the cops. Yeah. That's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
What dream sequence haven't we talked about yet?
I'm trying to think because I also want to talk about the backstory of Freddy that we got in this movie.
Right. So at one point during one of the funerals, earlier, Dr. Neil, I think his name was Dr. Neil, correct?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Dr. Neil. He sees like a nun just on the hospital grounds, which like, okay, yeah, nuns will go to hospitals for stuff. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then she like randomly disappears, and it's like, who was that?
Who is this lady?
Later on, we go to like one of the funeral scenes, and we see her talking to him, trying to comfort him. But then, like, when Nancy approaches him, she's not there. Who was she? So later on in the movie, we got a scene where, like, he finds her again, and he chases her to, like, the top of a tower somewhere on the premises.
Yeah, like the abandoned wing.
Then she's, yeah. And he's like, sister, where is this? And, like, this used to be an asylum, which I guess it still kind of is, but, like, a different, like, this is, like, a hospital for children now, but back then it was, like, an actual asylum.
Yeah.
Apparently there was a nun who had the Christmas shift and accidentally got locked in over the holiday with all these maniacs.
Hoo boy.
YouTube will yell at us if we say the word, but that happens. And then when she's found, she's barely clinging to life, and now she's pregnant.
Yeah, which the bastard son of 100 maniacs is one of the rawest things I've ever heard in a movie. Like, holy shit.
And it's revealed that, like, who was that nun? Her name was Amanda Kruger.
Ooh.
So now it's like, oh, Freddy's life was fucked up.
From the start.
Because, like, this demonic entity was born of a nun.
Mm-hmm.
Fathered by 100 maniacs.
That's insane. Yeah, yeah. And that's what I'm saying when it's like, okay, even though this still has some really goofy shit in it, like, that is a fucked up backstory. And they don't even show any of it. It's all explained through the nun kind of explaining this to Dr. Gordon. But the atmosphere is still appropriate. Yeah, the acting is phenomenal. Like, it's still delivered in a very serious way so that you still can visualize it. And it's so brilliant.
And, I mean, do we want to spoil it later, or?
I mean, yeah, you might as well spoil it now.
Yeah. At the end of the movie, it's revealed that of course the nun was a ghost, and that was Amanda Kruger. Mm-hmm. That was talking to him.
That was her the whole time.
These movies are approaching. The first movie is 40 years old this year. Mm-hmm. These old movies, and like at a certain point when listening to the podcast, you're kind of like, yeah, you should probably just pause and watch the movies at a certain point, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, even still, if you knew that going in, because I kind of...
It's not a huge deal.
Yeah, no, exactly. The movie is still good regardless. But it is a nice reveal at the end.
Yeah. Because, like, it gives you those nuggets of things going forward. The fourth movie doesn't really advance the backstory at all. Mm-mm. But, like, they'll go more into that in the fifth and sixth movies.
Okay, yeah.
More so the sixth movie, for better and for worse.
I can't wait.
Oh boy, a stinker.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, what else is there to talk about? I guess we could talk about the actual climax that involves them at the junkyard.
Oh yeah. So they have to go to a bar to collect John Saxon, who is now a drunkard.
Exactly.
And got demoted to a security guard.
Yeah.
And Dr. Neil effectively, to beat Freddy in this movie, they have to both do something, beat him in the dream and also in real life. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like there needs to be like that forces from both sides, which is really cool. And it's probably the best handled ending in the series, probably.
I would say so, yeah, because again, from everything that has been set up, there's an actual payoff with that.
Yeah. It's not very sudden like most of the other ones.
Right, exactly. And it doesn't feel like just kind of random. Yeah, no, there is an actual build up to this climax.
So Nancy goes back to the dream world to help the kids out while Dr. Neil and John Saxon, Nancy's father, go to the hollow ground where the original Freddy's bones are, and they have to burn his bones to get rid of him for good. So Freddy now has to fight both of them in the dream and in real life, which results in John Saxon having to fist fight a stop-motion skeleton.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, oh, shit, this is everything these past two movies, it was real that Nancy was telling him. And now I have to fist fight a Harryhausen skeleton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is my life now.
And it's great. Yeah, the special effects are fantastic. It actually looks like John Saxon is fighting a Harryhausen skeleton.
You ever just wake up in the morning and fist fight a skeleton?
Occasionally.
What do you think a skeleton's favorite food is?
Spare ribs.
That was for the kiddies. They'll probably laugh.
Yeah, maybe.
You kids watch Vine? Are you into the Vines?
William, they call it Tactics. I don't know. Can we
Isn't that a Kesha song? Isn't that a Kesha song?
Yes.
What's your favorite Kesha song?
We Are Who We Are.
I forgot that she did die young.
I
remembered the Godzilla song specifically because it's called Godzilla.
Well, yeah, you of all people.
Yesterday in the server, we were doing a bit about Kesha, and it's like most of us didn't really know what Kesha's library was. I'm like, I only know like 3 Kesha songs.
Yeah, I probably remember a bunch more. I just don't remember the names of them.
Honestly, I feel like I just memory hold a lot of that era of music that if you played one of the songs, like, oh yeah, this song.
Yeah, exactly my point. Yeah,
it's like once we get to Payphone, it just kind of like just melts. Anything before Payphone just kind of becomes lost.
Was she Payphone? I thought that was Maroon 5.
No.
Oh,
No, she's not, but it's like in that era of that kind of music.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
Do you remember the fucking selfie song?
Let me take a selfie.
Yeah, remember that one?
Oh, yeah. Right when I said it, I remembered it. I was like, oh yeah, that song.
Yeah, memory hold. Not a very good song.
For good reason.
Let me take a selfie.
The early 2010s, baby.
I feel like fucking Turn Down for What saved us somehow.
Yeah. Directed by the Daniels.
I don't know how it saved us, but it did.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Speaking of who directed music videos, the Elm Street remake. We'll get there later. Spoiler, the guy who directed the Elm Street remake, that is the only movie he directed. Everything else he's done was either music videos or commercials. And the only reason he directed that movie was because Michael Bay asked him to. We'll get there when we get there. Elm Street
3, good movie. I really like it.
Watch it.
Yeah, it's
my favorite one.
Your favorite one, my favorite one of your favorite movies in general. That's huge.
You don't really go into what my actual favorite movies are. It's just kind of like you can find them if you want to.
Yeah, because you have a list. But yeah, I remember this being kind of up there.
I literally have it at 3.
Yep, that's pretty up there.
Underneath Little Shop and Goofy movies, so that tells you something.
Those are exactly the kinds of movies I would expect to be your favorites.
Well, I've said those were before,
but that's what I'm saying. It really reinforces that.
Because otherwise around it is just Godzilla,
and
then literally it's just Godzilla and King Kong immediately after that until you get to Streets of Fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch Streets of Fire.
They should.
Also a movie from 84. 1984 was a banger year for movies, all things considered.
Yeah, if you really take the time to look at the movies that came out in 84, you're just like, holy shit. Like, this year had everything.
Like, why did Streets of Fire not do very well? Because it was sandwiched in between Star Trek 3, Temple of Doom, Ghostbusters, and Gremlins.
Oh boy, yeah. Look, that's exactly what happened to UHF. It's like, look, I love UHF with all my heart, but it came out the same summer as Last Crusade, Batman, Little Mermaid. It's like it stood no chance.
It's like, the biggest movies of all time came out that within the 3 weeks of each other.
Yeah, exactly. There was no chance.
Okay, well, not Star Trek 3, but like it's Star Trek, so people remember.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, Ghostbusters and Gremlins came out the same day.
Yeah. There was no shot.
Like summer of 84. Holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I like this movie. It's easily my favorite of the bunch so far.
And then after this, Freddy kind of became an icon.
Yeah. Nightmare 4. Okay. The Dream Master.
Well, after Elm Street 3, that was when all the merch and stuff came out. So, like, when it came time to do the 4th one, it's like, damn, he's kind of like a rock star now. So that was like what our director wanted to go off of. He kind of wanted to make him feel like kind of an action hero, which I guess we can talk about the director of this movie.
Yes. Rennie Harlan, please.
The guy who would eventually do Die Hard 2, among other things.
Well, so yeah, he's most known for Die Hard 2, which I know a lot of people don't like Die Hard 2. I have a soft spot for it. I think it's very funny. Obviously nowhere near the level of Die Hard 1, but I think it's very cute. And I think it's one of the best things he's ever made because, well, the other things he's made is Elm Street 4 and The Exorcist prequel from 2004, which, oh mama, that is some bad movie. So Elm Street 4, far better than Exorcist the beginning. No, what did he? Was it Exorcist? Yeah, it was.
Okay, I'm looking at his Letterboxd page one. He did Die Hard 2.
Yep.
The Strangers Chapter 1,
which came out this year. Holy shit.
Yeah. He did Deep Blue Sea, Cliffhanger.
Oh.
The Long Kiss Goodnight
from
'96, The Covenant, Exorcist the Beginning,
Ugh.
Devil's Pass, Mindhunters, Cutthroat Island.
Oh, one of the biggest bombs ever, Cutthroat Island.
Yeah, they got a steelbook recently this year.
Oh, well, then I guess everything all worked out.
Yeah. Driven, The Legend of Hercules, 12 Rounds, Skip Trace,
Ooh.
The Bricklayer, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. We're getting into the what the fuck moments.
What the fuck? Yeah, wait a minute. What?
Yeah, we're getting into the what the fucks.
Wait a minute. I didn't think he directed this much. Holy shit. I literally thought it was like Die Hard 2 and Exorcist and like occasionally other things, but holy shit, he's been around.
So basically, at this point in time, he's from Finland.
Mm-hmm.
He moved to LA to try to find his fortune. So of course he was the struggling director writer guy living off beans in an apartment in LA.
Mm-hmm. As is the story goes.
He managed to get like a meeting with one of the people who were like trying to find a director, because they knew they wanted to make the movie and they were working on it, but they couldn't for the life of them find a director for some reason. So in comes Rennie. He was this big Finnish dude, and like he had a good meeting with one of the people, a not great meeting with Bob Shea, who kind of like, oh yeah, okay, whatever is this guy, bye. So then, you want to know how Rennie got the gig?
You have been hyping this up. I really want to know now.
He just kind of kept showing up. He just kind of kept showing up to New Line's office saying, hey, can I direct the movie? Hey, can I direct the movie? And eventually, and like every time he went, apparently, like he was just wearing the same clothing, and it just got dirtier and dirtier.
Oh no!
And eventually, it was like, we just gotta give this guy the fucking job so make him take a bath.
Oh no!
But yeah, sure, fine. You can direct the movie.
Oh, you know what? Good for Red. You know what? Good for him. I'm happy for him then. Even though he's made some terrible movies, like good for him. The fact that he stood his ground, he got the job, and he made an okay movie.
It's like you hear the thing about like trying to get a job. It's like, be annoying. Just keep calling back to make them give you the job. That's what he just fucking did.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just keep showing up unannounced. Like, hey, can I direct the movie? Hey, can I direct the movie? Fine, SpongeBob, you can direct the movie.
But yeah, Elm Street 4, it's fine. It's
fun.
Yeah.
It's just kind of light, I think. Because there really isn't a whole lot of story, which they fully admit that the script was kind of a skeleton. Because it's just kind of like a series of set pieces, and then eventually the movie ends.
Yeah. I mean, it is a weird movie to bring back because, the third one did end kind of perfectly with defeating Freddy, but it did also make money.
How do we bring Freddy back? The dog pisses fire.
Yeah. Which, again, I'll give the movie that. That is creative. Good for the movie.
And apparently that was Rennie's idea, I think.
Good. You know what?
Because like the way in the documentary, I was talking about him explaining that, like, just all the Rennie stuff. There was like, oh yes, to do it like this, it'll look great. The dog will look exquisite. Like, oh, Rennie.
He's so funny. Because
this big Finnish dude.
But here's the thing. I really do think this movie is back to square one with my issues with Elm Street. And that is, we spend a lot of the movie of characters not believing the teenagers. And it's like, okay, I was willing to forgive it in the first movie because it was the first movie. Here, we've seen this already, and it just kind of is the movie again. It's like, okay.
To give some credit, most of the characters are new, so it's
sure.
Like... But also, it's like, with Kristen's mother, it's like, why are we still doing this?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And
now, luckily, we don't see Kincaid or Joey's family, is because, okay, Kincaid, Joey, and Kristen, since they lived last week, come back.
Mm-hmm. Which is great. I love Kincaid.
Yeah.
But then he dies. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Freddy comes back to kill them off.
Yeah, which they do have good scenes.
And that does kind of like go into the thing that even Freddy's acknowledging that like these are the last of the Elm Street kids. At this point, Freddy has technically won. Yeah.
That's another thing.
His original goal of taking revenge on the parents by killing all the kids from Elm Street, he has now succeeded. So at this point, it's like, well, that was my goal. So I need you to pull someone else in so I can keep going.
Yeah.
So he gets Kristen to pull in her new friend Alice, and then Kristen transfers the power to Alice.
Just
So
cause.
throughout the movie, he's just kind of using Alice as a means to get more victims.
Which is really funny because Alice, I get it. This is Alice's first time using this ability that she just gets out of nowhere, but she's really bad at it. And that just makes it kind of funny seeing her be like, just be like, we got to defeat Freddy. Oh no, everybody around me just keeps on dying.
Because I keep letting Freddy know they exist.
Yeah, it got comical the amount of times we went to a funeral in this movie, which is not what you want to do. Like you had said with the previous movies, whenever you see the characters at a funeral, like that's supposed to show the seriousness of it. It got comical in this movie.
And also apparently all buried next to each other.
Yeah, which is very convenient. Because
Kincaid, Kristen, and Nancy are all buried right next to each other. You just see her in the back, like, oh, they're just all next to each other. Yeah. They're neighbors.
They're neighbors in life and in death.
Hey, buddy. Oh, yeah. How'd you feel about Joey's death?
That was really funny because he was a perv in the last movie. Yeah. So of course he was a perv in this movie, and that was his ultimate undoing. That was great.
Watching MTV with the Miss America poster.
Yeah.
And then of course he has a waterbed.
Yeah, that is so 80s, the waterbed.
And then like the woman shows up in the waterbed, and then oops, actually it's Freddy.
Yeah. How's this for a wet dream?
And then like when his mother comes in, he is somehow inside the waterbed. How did that happen?
Don't worry about it.
Good scene. How the fuck how did you explain how you get in a waterbed?
Yeah, my son.
Don't worry about it.
My son drowned in the waterbed, and he's trapped in that waterbed.
Do you explain that?
No,
don't. And his mother never comes back, so whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, like with Kincaid, Freddy just makes it like he had a heart attack, basically.
Yeah.
Which that sequence is pretty cool though, because like we just see the giant car scrapyard.
Oh yeah, no,
and, like,
that's a great sequence.
Shot.
Yeah, it's a great shot. Oh,
the effects in this movie are still good.
Yeah, I want to go back to the fact that the dog pisses flames. The dog's name is Jason, so
yeah,
Jason resurrects Freddy, huh?
It's familiar.
That sounds awfully suspicious.
And also backwards.
Yeah.
But like the effect of the Freddy skeleton coming back together is really cool.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Just the scrapyard itself is like massive.
So far, the special effects are very consistent. Like they either keep
the money's all on screen.
Absolutely.
Like you can tell, like, oh, that is cost that much. Yeah, I believe it. I mean, everything looks great. Like you can see it on screen. Like everything just still looks great. Even if the movie's a bit of a step back, I think that's mostly a step back narratively, because it's just not a whole lot actually. There's not a whole lot of meat, because it's just kind of a series of set pieces.
Oh yeah, no, it is set piece the movie. I mean, that's usually what Nightmare has been. It's set piece after set piece.
Well, like with the first movie and this third movie, there still at least is more narrative stuff there to go string you along. At least,
absolutely.
Here, I think it still is at least a better pace than the second movie, at least.
Oh yeah. Because the at least with this one, unlike the second one, where it just kind of starts really funny and then it gets progressively less funny as it goes along
and meandering.
Yeah, this one's at least a bit of a roller coaster where you get highs and lows kind of spread out throughout the movie.
Like there's not a whole lot happening narratively, but at least like they're going boom, 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 boom.
Right.
They're not dwelling on anything.
Yeah, and the kills themselves are really impressive. You get the.
I need to ask you about Debbie.
Oh,
the weightlifter.
Oh, Debbie.
Yeah, I need to know your reaction to that one.
I was very excited.
The Screaming Mad George effect.
Screaming Mad George, Fast Love of the Damned, bro. Yeah, that was Screaming Mad George. Yeah. So first off, when she gets the fucking weights, where she's like, "I don't believe in you," and he's like, "I believe in you," and it completely breaks her arms. And then the fact that she just becomes a bug fucking fantastic. I knew they were going to do something with bugs because there's a scene at the beginning when she just like steps on a roach and she's just like, I hate bugs. It's like, that's coming back.
You would expect it to be like, oh, she's covered in bugs and by them or something. They're like, no, we're going to turn her into one.
Yeah. Oh, dude, when she like puts her face down on the glue trap and then she like pulls it up and her entire face peels off and she's just a bug now. Oh, it's fantastic.
You can check in, but you can't check out.
Yeah, squeeze.
Because it's real. She's in a fucking roach motel.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic sequence.
The pizza. You like the pizza?
Rick, you little meatball.
I love soul food.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a really creepy looking meatball, and he just eats it. It's gross, but it's fantastic. Yeah, great special effects here at play.
Like, if anything, the weakest dream sequence is probably the brother's death, mostly because that sequence was one of the last things they filmed, and originally he wasn't even going to die. Like, from what I remember, he wasn't even originally supposed to die, so they just kind of shot that last minute. It was like, well, you might as well kill him. Be fun.
Yeah,
and
that is interesting.
Because that's the one where Freddy's invisible.
Yes.
You want to know why Freddy's invisible?
They couldn't get Robert to film that day.
It was the last thing they shot, so he wasn't on set anymore.
Yeah. But he was still recording ADR later.
Yeah. He wasn't available anymore. So that's why he's just punching the air.
That's funny.
And then the glove shows up at him.
Yeah, of course.
We're talking about how there's not a whole lot going on narratively. There's at least some themes going on, at least with Alice.
Yeah, sure.
Because, like, you have, like, her, like, she has all the photos on the mirror because she just wants to see herself. And, like, we get the sense that she's kind of very self-conscious and shy. She has, like, the daydreams about, like, being with the hot guy, but she's too scared to actually talk to him.
And then speaking up to her father. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is absolutely something there. I just don't think the movie does a particularly good job at conveying it.
There's not a lot of story with it, but there's at least the theme there. Because, like, by the end of the movie, once everyone's gone and she has their powers, because we haven't gotten to that part yet, but once she has all their powers with her, she takes all the photos off and she can finally see herself in the mirror.
Yeah.
It's like, there's something there, and I can appreciate that. I think they could have done a little more with it.
Absolutely.
But I can appreciate that. It's also an Alice in Wonderland callback because it's Alice in the mirror.
Yeah.
So, like, it's an Alice in Wonderland with our friends, so, like, kind of cute.
And then Freddy literally says, "Welcome to Wonderland, Alice." Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah.
They just could have done a little more narratively.
Exactly. I acknowledge it's there. I just don't think it's as strong as it could be.
Yeah. No, it is still fun, though, because, like, it is just kind of a roller coaster.
Yeah, exactly. We get the beach scene, which is what your profile picture is right now.
Yeah, the famous Kristen has a dream where she goes to the beach, and apparently Rennie just wanted her in wanted her in the skimpiest bikini possible because her buttocks look very good. Oh, Chris, oh, don't worry, Tuesday your buttocks looks very nice and full. Like, Rennie, no, shut up.
Yeah, look.
So they gave her the skirt to make her feel better.
Yeah, it does. But we're filming a movie here.
Rennie, come on. She's let her be in a modest bikini.
Modest bikini, exactly. No, but you know what? I wasn't even paying attention to the bikini. I was paying attention to
because you're paying attention to Freddy's glove being a shark fin.
That too, and also Freddy just wearing sunglasses is phenomenal.
Yeah, like he puts on the sunglasses and she's just like.
I have definitely seen like a Letterboxd profile picture with Freddy with sunglasses. That is a peak Letterboxd user profile picture.
So, like, at one point, Rennie wanted to make Freddy feel more like a hero, like the hero of horror, kind of. Like, you're almost rooting for him, even though he's the villain. So that's why he did shit like that in the movie. And by that point, it kind of was where the series was going anyway. Like, Robert Englund gets top billing in this movie.
Oh, yeah. At this point, it's no longer and Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. It's Robert Englund.
Robert Englund in Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Exactly. Yeah. The culture has shifted a lot since the first movie. Yeah.
Also, we get the Tuesday night song Nightmare, which has been stuck in my head since yesterday morning now. She does music. This is the only song I know from her, but she does music.
Look, with a name like Tuesday Night, she has to be famous somehow. Whether acting, songs, it doesn't matter. She needs to do something so then we can see her
Your name is too cool to not be famous.
Exactly.
So, also, Freddy's defeat here in the movie is both really cool, but also really confusing because so she shows a mirror. She shows a reflection of him, which I guess kind of goes with like the mirror stuff from earlier. But she makes him look at himself, and it causes the souls in his chest to tear him apart.
Which great effect.
Awesome effect.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why does that work?
Yeah, because you.
Also, fun fact. So one for the effect, they actually did build like a giant replica of the chest where they had like human actors painted up and squirming around in it.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be surprised at all to know that one of the naked women in there is Linnea Quigley?
Well, see, here's the thing. I remember watching through the credits and it said Linnea Quigley at one point. I was like, wait a minute. And then I go to the Letterboxd cast list and it says Linnea Quigley. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so that's what she played. Okay.
Yes, she's one of the souls in Freddy's chest in the giant effect they made for it. And of course you see her naked because you see her naked in fucking everything she's in.
Sure.
I think Linnea Quigley just likes being naked.
Good for her.
The most naked woman in the 80s.
Someone has to have that title.
I guess. So yeah, it's a really cool effect, like the animatronics and everything, the big prop, it's all great.
Mm-hmm.
Weird fucking ending though.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It is weird because it just kind of comes out of nowhere. Again, yeah, like you said, there is that whole mirror aspect of showing Freddy for who he is and evil will die, but it's like, you made that up.
That was not at all set up.
Remember in the third movie where you had the mirror sequence? No,
it's because he dies because they put a crucifix on his buried corpse.
Yeah,
and then he blows up.
And then he blows up.
It's like, yeah, the basic religious aspect of it. Like he's a demon, so of course that'll work.
Yeah.
Why does a random piece of stained glass cause him to explode?
Don't worry about it.
It's a cool effect.
Yeah.
I don't see the correlation here.
Yeah, that's why this movie, it looks good. It has some really cool sequences, but...
Great soundtrack.
Great. Oh, dude, the soundtrack. Mwah, chef's kiss. But the overall package, I'm like, it's lacking. It's not... I think it is also a little disappointing because the third one was so good. It was so strong. Whereas here, like I said, it feels like we've taken a couple steps backwards in some regards, which again, I'm willing to forgive. We're not going to these horror films because of the story, but because there isn't a strong story.
Still be nice for it to be there.
Exactly. There should still be something there. That's why I appreciate the third one so much, because there is something there.
I still think the movie is fun.
Yes.
I'd still say it's a fun ride to watch.
Absolutely.
And there's great sequences.
Yes.
It's just weaker than what was immediately before it.
Yeah, absolutely. So far, out of all the horror franchise reviews I've done, the first episode, like the first 4 movies of these movies, these are the strongest first 4 movies I have seen so far out of the Halloween, Friday, and now the Elm Street movies. Like, these are the strongest first 4 movies.
Yeah. Like, okay, I don't want to say it's downhill from here because, like, I haven't seen part 5 in such a long time that I don't know what my opinion on that actually is. And 6, I can be considered funny bad for a lot of people. But, like, there are people that, like, genuinely like the 7th one for New Nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, like, it is at least... It's good that we do have, like, a good, strong foundation for the first half of this franchise.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I have had so much fun watching these movies. And even the second one, I know a lot of people are kind of on that one, but it's like, I still had a lot of fun with that one. Same thing here.
It has moments.
Yeah, there's so many moments that I can't say this has been a waste of time. This is absolutely so much fun so far.
And, like, at least say no that, like, yeah, this one's just kind of a roller coaster, so we're going to lean into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's no time wasted.
No.
And, like, another thing that's talk about the whole franchise itself that also sets it apart from, like, a lot of the other slashers at this point is that, like, it just looks better shot in just the visuals.
Oh,
'Cause,
dude,
like,
the visuals.
the cinematography is just better than like a Friday usually is.
Yeah, especially this one. This one has some really strong colors.
Yeah, there's like that one like tracking shot where like Kristen's like walking away from her father in her house. Like, hey, that's a good shot.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot better shot. It's because like a lot of the earlier Fridays are just very flatly shot. There's not a whole lot of inspiration for a lot of it, and like other slashers from the era. Whereas here, it's like there feels like there's more like craft and skill behind the camera.
Yeah, the colors especially. There's like so many different like colors. I love the shot of in the ambulance in this movie where it's just entirely green, and then like it closes it and it looks like there's still like green light in the ambulance, but it's dark all around surrounding them. It's great.
Yeah. So about how well the movie did. So like even despite all of what we said, the movie actually did review very well when it came out.
Sure, I believe that.
And it was also the highest grossing one up to that point.
Oh, okay. You know,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense because
It
they keep
made
going.
money.
Yeah, it made a lot.
Like Bob Shea did not like Rennie Harlan throughout the production of the movie. Like he would come on set and just kind of grumble, like was not happy about anything that was going on. The movie came out, they saw lines across the block at every theater. So Rennie called his mom to say about what's happening. Bob Shea took the phone and just said, "Your son just made our highest grossing picture ever."
I'm happy for Rennie. Good for Rennie. I feel happy
And
for
like,
him.
yeah, like the movie came out. Then on that Monday, he got a call from like a manager saying, Rennie, Mr. Spielberg is on the phone.
Wow.
And then a year later, he was directing Die Hard 2.
You know what? I'm so happy for him. Even though I don't like Exorcist the beginning, I really don't like Exorcist the beginning. But wow, I really appreciate that. That's good. That's amazing. This is like how when me and Lily were talking about Alien Resurrection, I have more respect for the director of that movie, even though that didn't work out because that was also a nightmare production and it tanked and it was not a good movie and nobody liked it. I still respect that director. Here, I respect Rennie a lot more now, like that, because he got like a happy ending. I mean, well, not really, because he just made The Strangers Part 1 or whatever, and it's apparently doing terribly. But you know what? He made Elm Street 4 and Die Hard 2, and that's enough in my mind.
And like in that, you can tell that he knew what he was doing too, because like the movie is also like very quickly paced.
Yes.
Like he apparently wanted to have more like Hong Kong action inspired stuff in the movie. I don't know if I go that far, but like I get what they're coming from. Like It is very tightly edited and paced. The story isn't really there, but they did the best what they could with the script they had.
Oh yeah, I would watch this movie again. Like that's already a big compliment I would give a movie. Would I be willing to sit through it again? Yes, absolutely. I would watch this again. I'd watch 1 and 3 more, but absolutely I would watch this again.
Before we wrap up, since I don't really know where else to really talk about this, after Elm Street 4 came out was when Freddy's Nightmares, the TV show, came out. So yes, there was an Elm Street TV show that came out after the fact. Basically what it was it was like a precursor to Tales from the Crypt kind of thing, where it was an anthology horror series, where Freddy was basically the Crypt Keeper.
Okay.
So like he would do like wraparounds, he would like introduce the shorts, he would show up periodically to make like a crack about what's happening. And it was still Robert Englund. Like this is where like if you've ever seen the gif of Freddy playing the electric guitar in like a classroom, it's from the show.
Oh, I don't think I know that gif, but I'm sure you're gonna post it.
In a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, basically that was what that was. It was very low budget for the time, and like they didn't really care too much about it from the higher ups section because it was just money at that point.
Yeah.
But like it was there, and like everything still took place in Springwood, so like it still had that connective tissue. And like apparently they did get away with a lot of like gory stuff and sexual stuff in that show, despite the fact that it was on TV in the 80s, because they just did what the fuck they wanted for fun. because he knew it was going to get cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like a little fun little production that people jumped in on.
Okay.
And then once it ended, because the budgets were getting so bad, they just kind of like put the people who were working on the show on the Tales from the Crypt.
Okay. Yeah.
Which actually put the budget for that show down a lot, kept the budget for that show in check a lot more, and made Tales from the Crypt a bigger success.
Right.
Apparently, Freddy's Nightmares isn't a very good show in general. I haven't seen it because it's barely ever streaming. It was on Screenbox for a couple months at one point a couple years ago, but then they lost the license again. It is basically nowhere on physical media, and it's hard to find. The most noble thing about it, though, is that like the pilot for the series is actually an episode called No More Mr. Nice Guy, which is actually the Freddy Krueger backstory.
Oh.
Where he's the Springwood slasher, and we see like that actual origin.
Okay.
So like that's the big noble thing with the show, and everything else about after that is just like wacky hijinks happening in Springwood, and then Freddy will make a one-liner like "Ride 'em, cowboy, got any saddle sores" during a sex scene.
Well, now I know.
I think there's like 2 episodes of the show on like that complete series box that you have.
No, let me check actually.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 episodes of it on there.
Yep, 2 episodes from the Freddy's Nightmare TV series. It's a Miserable Life and Killer Instinct.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? I'm gonna watch these right now, actually. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you like the picture of Freddy with a guitar?
I do like the picture of Freddy with a guitar. Yeah. That's fantastic.
So yeah, just like I think Tom McLaughlin, who directed Friday 6, actually did an episode or 2 of the show.
Oh, no kidding.
He was on the documentary.
Oh, so the best Friday movie.
Yeah. So I think he did like an episode at one point or something. It was just like a thing that it was just a thing that happened in the series that just kind of gets usually a footnote. So I just want to bring it up now that it happened.
No, absolutely. I mean, you brought up the Friday the 13th series when we talked about the movies, so you know.
Well, that also had relevance in terms of the main character of that would be in Jason Goes to Hell.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, the actor, not the character.
Not the character. No.
So there was at least something to bring in there. Mm-hmm. Whereas here it's like, yeah, Robert Englund's in it.
Yeah. You know,
he's a little funny.
Yeah, he's a little funny.
Because it was just like they didn't really. It was the let's fuck around show. Yeah. Because the next thing that happened will be the 5th movie, and then we need to talk. And we talk about that next week.
We'll talk about that next time. So yeah, we don't really have anything else to talk about this episode, so I say we wrap it up here.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess do you just want to talk about all the films at the end of the next episode, then all together?
Yeah, we'll do a big finale like at the end of the next episode. Yeah, where we rank and do all that. Yeah.
So yeah, that was the first 4 Elm Street movies.
Yeah.
All 4 of them are streaming on Max currently. The first movie just got released on 4K. It took fucking forever, but it finally happened. And it's looking like they're working on restorations for the other movies now, too. So hopefully those get releases within the next year or 2. You know, Arrow's doing Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X.
Yeah. That's an update from last year's episodes. We're getting 4Ks of Jason Goes to Hell.
Because, like, we found out Jason Goes to Hell from, like, Adam Marcus himself saying, yeah, work on restoration. We're trying to get it work for it even. And then, like, Arrow themselves basically announced Jason X was like they just did the 4K of Trick or Treat with the Michael Dougherty movie.
Yeah, Trick or Treat. Yeah.
And inside there is like they always put like a little postcard of things that they're working on for later. You open up that release, there's a postcard of Jason X inside. So basically, we have Jason X.
Oh boy.
Because they just did the 2009 on 4K.
Insane.
So yeah, the modern Jason movies are getting 4Ks. How do you like that?
I'm very...
It's weird because like the first movie and the second movie have 4Ks now.
Yeah.
And then we have 2009 and apparently Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X on 4K. But 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 don't have 4Ks.
Yeah. What's up with that, dude? Come on.
I'm assuming though, if they're doing Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X, they're probably also doing Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah. And I mean, I think they'll probably get to, the rest of them at some point. They gotta. they're
Well, Paramount would be doing the first 8, if anything.
right. Yeah, but it's still
'Cause that's their ownership.
yeah, but they have to. I mean, come on. If
They're just taking their sweet time.
yeah, if Adam got it on 4K, they're not far behind.
It's like you gotta at least do 6. Come on.
Exactly.
Even like Jason Takes Manhattan would probably look really good in 4K with all the colors.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
When they actually go to New York.
Like even like the dance hall scene on the
True.
boat,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
like
True.
the stuff, the guitar.
That. Yeah.
So yeah, Elm Street. We like Elm Street.
I like it so far.
Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Yeah. All right. See you next time for part 2, everybody.
Bye.